up, pick it up.
You see the drip, yeah, I'm fitted up. Hop in my car and the giddy up. Secure the bag, yeah, I get the bus.
Pick it up, pick it up, pick it up.
You see the drip, yeah, I'm fitted up. Hop in my car and the giddy up. Secure the bag, yeah, I get the
up, pick it up.
You see the drippy, I'm fitted up. Hop in my car and the giddy up. Secure the bag, yeah, I get the bus.
Pick it up, pick it up, pick it up.
You see the drippy, I'm fitted up. Hop in my car and the giddy up. Secure the bag, yeah, I get the
Hello, everyone. It is Thursday. It is day 4 of the summit. Okay, I see the heart, so I think y'all can hear me okay. Yeah, Christina. Christina just said, I can't wait for the 2024 after party. Yes. So listen, towards the end of the summit, it always feels very sad. We feel it too. Best believe. But we just have 2 days left. But one thing that is changing and one thing that is true, we are actually switching it up, disrupting ourselves to go deeper with the community, and make sure that now we outside, we can be outside. So instead of there being a December 2023 summit, as would always have been the case, because we've done this every 6 months virtually and done it in a very big way, got Webbies for it, etc. We're actually switching to annual Blaze Virtual Summits, okay, with the founder after party weekends, where if y'all want to pull up, you don't have to, but in the US, we will always have the pilgrimage where Black women entrepreneurs come together and we party. No sessions, no talks, none of that, but we have safe space to hug each other and talk to each other and commune with one another and think about, how we might want to collaborate with each other and help heal each other, right? Community is medicine. So be on the lookout for that. We promise we'll drop information really soon. But just as you think about where you might be next year, this will always be around Juneteenth, okay? In June, from Friday afternoon, Friday evening, once the Blaze Virtual Summit wraps, to Sunday, okay? We promise you that. And it's going to be a really, really good time. This is us going deeper with the community and making sure that what we do, even though it is highly regarded around the world, literally around the world, that we make sure we're creating solutions for y'all, right? That you need. So it is the top of day 4. We are T-minus 46 minutes until the very first session. I want to make sure that everybody is oriented to the space, okay? Especially for those of y'all who are brand new to the summit space, okay? Hello, welcome here. If you are watching from YouTube, TikTok, Facebook, etc., just know that you can still come inside the club, okay? It is still free. It is still available. Just go to blazevirtualsummit.com and you can still get in. All those who are inside of the summit actually get access to the replays for 3 whole months, as it really was. You'll still see the emojis flying across the screen when certain things hit, right? You'll still see the chat comments on the side. You'll get this full experience for 3 months, okay? So make sure you're registered. Tell your friends, tell your cousins, tell your mom, tell your nieces, okay? Tell your goddaughters about this, because there's enough space for all of us. Okay, I'm gonna take a quick look at the leaderboard because y'all, it's less than 48 hours and the winner will be announced, like way less than 48 hours. Okay, so in the top 3, we still have the ladies holding it down, y'all. China has a big lead actually with 8,280 points. Wow, sis. Wow. She's in spot number 1. Dana has been in the top 3 since this summit started, baby, and she is still there. She has 7,180 points, holding down the number 2 spot. Our girl Alexis Miller, we love her, we stand her. She is in spot number 3 with 7,095 points. And if y'all know anything about Alexis, because right now she's only about 85 points away. If you know anything about her, you know that she knows how to sneak in and take somebody's spot. So Dana, watch out. And then we have some more folks, right? But the top 3 winners will get a full year of the Podia Shaker plan. That's not the baby plan. That's the big body plan, where they will have basically a free online business with the functionality for affiliates, no charges to any money that they make. Podia does not take a processing fee. And this value is $1,068 a year, right? So super dope. We love our friends at Podia, mean that, for real. Spots number 4 and 5 are held down by Winnie Quick and Christina King, and they will receive, if they hold down the 4 and 5 spots, somebody else will receive this. If not, they will receive a signed author's copy of an incredible anthology called Dear Sis, I Love You. And yesterday, we actually heard from the Diversity Booth CEO that led this project. She's the lead author on it, Amber Booth McCoy. And we heard some passages. I'm actually a co-author of that project as well. So I read a passage from my chapter. Okay, Amber read some pieces from that book as well. But those winners will get that. Okay, and then spots 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. Yeah, because we award 15 people every single summit. That's how we do it. Okay, they will actually get, whoever lands in that spot will actually get free access to the Blaze Mastermind membership tier for 3 months. A lot of robust stuff, right? And y'all see, anybody that's ever come to a mastermind meeting knows, like, it is real robust, real-time responses to your real needs and helping you move with the precision of a ninja that can save you 3 years of learning on your own. But also books, also resources, business templates, etc. And a whole lot more is coming, actually. We have our own AI bots that are going to be holding it down in the app. Super fire, literally dropping patents so that we make sure tech is created to fit us and our voice, right? Using our examples. More to come on that though. But let me say these names. Number 6 is Amber Hurt. I see you, sis. Crystal is in number 7. Crystal Parlin. Ahira. Okay, Ahira. She's number 8. Coach UM. She's been holding it down in these top spots for a minute. Crystal Mordick. I hope I said that correctly, sis. Tatiana Allen is in number 11. Number 12 is Nicole Player. She's super dope, y'all. I hope y'all been checking out her booth. Yvonne Tay, our auntie, is in number 13. Love that. 13 is my favorite number, actually. 14, we have Karen Moore. Karen Moore has been showcasing a powerful trailer in her booth each day. If you've not experienced that, I definitely recommend you visit her booth. Pay attention to the feed for when she's going to be dropping things. Her business is The Color of Beautiful, and she is combating colorism in the most beautiful ways I've ever seen in my life. So know that name, Karen Moore, know that name. And then last but not least, spot number 15, Coach Michelle Manning is holding it down with 2,235 points. Andrea, you are number 16, sis, okay? You number 16, you only 25 points away, so don't give up hope, okay? But beautiful. If there are any questions, okay, if there are any questions that anyone has, please be sure in this registration session to drop it in the Q&A, and I promise we'll answer them for you, okay? If there are any questions that you have about anything, drop it in the Q&A chat, and during this session, promise to answer them. But that's all, y'all. Get ready for the day. If y'all want to head over to the lounge to kick it, kiki with your biz besties, dream, talk, reflect, do it. There are about 12 tables over there. Y'all can sit in any one of those tables and chop it up. Okay. But take what you need. Take what you need. And if you have not downloaded the app yet, I mean it. You want to be in there because this experience is absolutely powerful. And we are committed to making sure that we live like this every single day, 365. And our solution is the app and everything that we build inside of it with developers and the brightest minds in the world so that we live in the land of plenty while we're here. Okay. So Blaze Group is the app. It is available on Android and Apple in 277 countries. So it's probably in your space, okay, wherever you are. And that's intentional so that as we travel to, etc., right, we just have access and freedom. All right, I'm gonna let the credits roll, y'all. I love y'all, and I mean it. T minus 39 minutes until the top of the day. And this is a good day, y'all. See y'all in a bit.
see the drip, yeah, I'm fitted up. Hop in my car and the giddy up. Secure the bag, yeah, I get the bus.
Pick it up, pick it up, pick it up.
You see the drip, yeah, I'm fitted up. Hop in my car and the giddy up. Secure the bag, yeah, I get the see the drip, yeah, I'm fitted up. Hop in my car and the giddy up. Secure the bag, yeah, I get the bus.
Pick it up, pick it up, pick it up.
You see the drip, yeah, I'm fitted up. Hop in my car and the giddy up. Secure the bag, yeah, I get the
up, pick it up.
You see the drippy, I'm fitted up. Hop in my car and the giddy up. Secure the bag, yeah, I get the bus.
Pick it up, pick it up, pick it up.
You see the drippy, I'm fitted up. Hop in my car and the giddy up. Secure the bag, yeah, I get the You see the drippy, I'm fitted up. Hop in my car and the giddy up. Secure the bag, yeah, I get the bus.
Pick it up, pick it up, pick it up.
You see the drippy, I'm fitted up. Hop in my car and the giddy up. Secure the bag, yeah, I get the.
All right, y'all. T minus 14 minutes. It is the 4th day of the summit, which means there are only 2 days left. Okay, so take what you need, secure these relationships with the amazing, brilliant women that you've connected with. Hold on to it and take it past these doors. Okay, I want to hear some reflections from day 3. Okay, so if you want to come to the stage, I encourage you to do so. All you have to do is hit that hand button that's below the screen, and I just want to hear your reflections, right? Your reflections, your reactions, your deepest takeaways from day 3. As a reminder, what we hit on in day 3 were Flo started us off heavy with Ignite Your Inner Fire, okay? And then we had a powerful workshop that was led by Star Pryor. She was having some difficulty getting on the stage because of bandwidth issues during the Q&A. And so Raven, our graphic designer and production assistant for all the summits, she came on and she blessed us alongside a lot of women from the audience as well who came up too, right? Powerful in redefining mompreneurship. And in doing so, they actually redefined our intersections with motherhood, right? Affirming the fact that you don't need a physical child from your womb to have mothered, right? So it was deep. It was deep, right? We had a Beyonce session. It wasn't a Blaze talk. It was a Beyonce session from Amber Hurt, who helped us to pull affirmations, right, in our daily lives, right, from our favorite songs, etc. And we had a DJ set from DJ T.O. She started off with Rip Me Out the Plastic, I'm Acting Brand New. We got super lit, okay? And then we had Pilates. It was our last day of the week for Pilates. So those of you who leaned into that, beautiful job. I know I did. My body was sounding like potato chips, but it felt very good at the same time. Very interesting, okay? And then we ended the day with some powerful, I would say, introspective things, right? So we had Andrea Camargo from Colombia, from a different continent than many of you are on in the United States, North America. And it was about the creative nervous system. And she actually taught us how we integrate leadership with wellness balance, right? And how we can like literally allow our body to unlock the tranquility that it needs at any time, in offices, at home, etc. Very, very powerful. And we ended with a fireside chat between Flo and myself on knowing what to quit, And that was important because we actually unpacked how it is important that you just trim fat, look at the data, see what your audience is telling you, and stop giving them what you want them to have and start giving them what they tell you they want to have. If it's the podcast and not the course, you drop the course, right? And on top of that, it was, what is the long game, right? Because it does not have to be working for the rest of your life, right? It could actually be you developing a solution that's so powerful, a bigger company wants to buy it from you. You take the $50 million, that's called an exit, right? Many of you wrote that down in your notebooks, and you go do with that exit money what you will, right? You can start more businesses, right? You can buy real estate, you can buy stocks and just invest in other companies, Black women especially, right? And as they exit, you get that cash, right? So very powerful, but want to hear your reflections. First on the stage, I'm bringing up Amber Hurt. Amber, the mic is yours, mama. I see you.
Yes, okay, perfect. So thank you, obviously, Casey. We keep thanking you a million times, but this was amazing. And I feel like for me, day three, it was just like reaffirming and super exciting and creative to think about like the things I've already done and I know I've done, but to hear people kind of say it back to you, people that don't even know you, but just from you talking about whatever it was that you were talking to them with, whether it was on the table, in the chat. And I feel like being here, it's like we're seeing people for who they are, even if they don't see that for themselves. So I feel like this is just an amazing space for people to kind of have a mirror put up to them and see, like, no, like you are that girl, like you got it, like you're doing great, you're going to be fine, you have a whole community of people behind you. I think that the work comes after this of actually like reaching out to people, leaning into that and staying connected and not waiting until the next summit comes around.
That's so good. That's so good, Amber. Agree completely, and thank you for that powerful reflection. And I'm happy that you are actually giving yourself a challenge of keeping these relationships and not waiting for the next summit to come around. That's good because we've always done this for 6 months, and a lot of people have banked on this summit, right? But the power is in your hands. So thank you for giving all of us that challenge, sis, to take up space. Love you, and I mean it, Amber.
Yes, I love you too.
All right, y'all. So next, we're gonna keep this rolling. I'm bringing up Erica. Erica, the mic is yours. What is your reflection from day 3?
Hi. I'm super excited. I came up here to flex my little public speaking muscle again. I'm gonna present later today. But I've just been really happy to see everyone doing their presentation, like everyone that I met through the speaker mixer, actually seeing these people in action. Everyone was saying they were so nervous and oh my gosh, it's gonna be so hard, and just watching everybody crush it this whole week has just been amazing. I'm excited to crush mine. But yeah, I'm just really thankful for the people that have poured into me, like Lawanda, Victoria, who else am I forgetting? Because I met some other people at the mixer. I had a list in my head and I just forgot. But everyone who had kind words to me to say on the 5th at that mixer event, I love you so much. But yeah.
So good, Erica. And we are so excited to learn from you today. So thank you for taking up space. I'm so proud of you. Always so proud of you. Keep going.
Thank you.
You're welcome, Mama. That's such a good reflection as well, y'all, because I think it, without being prompted, right? Like this is clearly not scripted, but as much as you all feel during these 5 days, know that there has been so much nurturing ahead of this 5-day summit amongst the speakers, because we want to make sure that speakers don't pour from an empty cup. I'm gonna say that again. We want to make sure, and we do make sure, that speakers do not pour from an empty cup, because it ain't never that deep. We don't got to be a martyr, right? And so the speakers have actually been part of an experience for months now, right? And they've met each other, okay? And they've had their own mixes. We've been in air meet together before this, right? So nothing about this is performative, right? And I think that's important to say, right? Because I got to speak to the trauma responses. Is this real? Like, when the shoe gonna drop? Like, where, like where the scam at? Like, no, like this is your home because you deserve. You are worthy. You were worthy when you came out of your mother's womb, and so because there's a lack of space for us to just be, right, and to not fake it until we make it, but be it until we see it. We've built the stage as y'all built y'all's tables. Love that. Thank you so much, Erica. Alexis, the mic is yours, Mama.
Absolutely. So, my takeaway from yesterday was a lot of confirmation around some of the things that I had been thinking, as far as like how people, mediocre people, are in spaces that I'm nervous to even approach or speak up or say anything. And my confidence has grown exponentially just in hearing that. Miss Flo, Miss Auntie Flo, really spoke to a lot of the things that, I've been dealing with as a non-technical, co-founder founding a tech business. You feel insecure because you don't think you don't have, you feel like you don't have those certifications, you feel like because you don't know code and stuff like that, you don't have a place in it. And then when you get in the rooms and you go to these networking events, you find that a lot of these people didn't have those certifications either.
Yeah.
And based on them having the confidence to go out there even with their lack of qualifications. So just in knowing that, I feel a lot more confident about being in this space. Also kind of speaking to the sessions, I was in Miss Kathy's session for a long time. And you guys know I'm like nervous as far as like speaking everything. And she said that I lit up when I started talking about my business. and she loved to hear that. So just hearing that and knowing that I got it, building my confidence in it, it's been great. So, and then I always tell people, since I'm a second time around, that it's going to be heavy. This week is going to be super heavy, but I promise you, at the end, you will feel so light, and you will take that into the next 6 months, the next year, and you will see how your business, grows exponentially, just in you shifting your mindset and how you navigate this business world. So
Such a rich reflection. Such a rich reflection. Thank you so much, Alexis, for taking us through the multidimensionality of your experience. I'm glad it hit in so many personal as well as just external ways too, right? And just how you see the world, right? How your lens has changed. I love you, sis. Keep going. You got this, Shawty. You got this. You got this. You got this. Ashe. Ashe. All right. So last one, Christina. I'm bringing you up. You have just 60 seconds, sis, and then we'll make sure we roll into the next session. But I do want to hear, what is your day 3 reflection? The mic is yours.
Really, so now things started getting staticky on my end, so I hope you guys can hear me. Casey, per usual, I'm having a blast. Yesterday was really, really dope. I always like the summer session because it's all about tech. Yeah. I had a great conversation yesterday with Miss Karen and Miss Cheryl. If you guys have not seen the trailer for her colorism documentary, please do. It is amazing. I wanted to say, I forget her name because I've just been talking to so many people, but that whole Trimble thing, listen, for the veterans that were here in December, when we talked about the mother wound, I have a ton of anxiety. I take medication to be able to just make it for day to day sometimes. So me trying to find alternatives and write my way through the trauma that comes from just generational not knowing how to parent sometimes, dropping the ball, whatever, finding that forgiveness, all of those things, not, being afraid of being successful and the trauma that we hold on to unnecessarily and not knowing how to work through. All of those things together. This is what the summit does for me. And I appreciate it. I love the fellowship. As far as I'm concerned, there is just nothing in the world better than a Black woman. And if you don't believe it, look in the mirror, remind yourself who you are. Last but not least, I lost a client a couple of weeks ago to horrific circumstances, and to see that happen to a Black woman is so humbling, and it's so unexpected, and it's just the worst. So while we have the breath, the opportunity to get up and go, do it. Don't stop. Keep going. Even if you have to do it by yourself, be your number one fan, your number one supporter, be your own village, and your tribe will find you. So thank you. That's it.
Let me tell you something. That was a TED Talk. If I ever heard one. Thank you, Christina. I love you deep, sis. I appreciate those reflections. I love you deep.
Thank you. Okay, so yeah, I love you too. Thank you. I appreciate.
So good. So good. Y'all are so dope. All right. The fear of being successful. That's what happens when you're fractured. You actually see things more clearly. The fear of being successful. Let that sizzle in your spirit, like one of these IG comedians say, as we step through the day. The things that are on the lineup today, I want to make sure y'all are prepped for this. We're actually being opened up from the Beyonce queen herself, Amber Heard. She is back with a workshop this time. Okay, so lots to unpack. And the workshop is called I Am Professional Enough. Or am I professional enough? And professional has fro in it. So y'all already know what's about to happen. Okay. We're going into a branding session. Again, we are stepping through a recession. We are stepping through a recession. And I need to make sure that y'all know how to bend, but not break, so that we make it to the other side without your business being in the trash can. And branding is so important. Erica Lasana is going to get into it, because it's not about faking it until you're making it. Okay. And so we got to remove the urge to still show the well manicured, everything on IG, and us buying a whole bunch of consumables so that we can show ourselves stock in the fridge. Like, what does it look like for real, sis? Erica Lasana is going to get you through that. DJ Red Corvette is back for the last time, okay, this week. So enjoy the DJ set. And if y'all have ever been in a DJ Red Corvette set, you know it is eclectic, and it just takes you to another stratosphere in your mind and in your body. So enjoy that. And then we'll talk about the next half the day after that. But I'm gonna give you an FYI. We have a whole panel discussion from a panel of experts on the art of releasing control. I'm in somebody's house right now, uninvited, managing teams. The art of releasing control, managing teams. And this is on purpose, because less than 2% of Black-owned businesses have employees. Yeah. So that means we don't know what we're doing when it's time to manage teams, and we have to. So please be locked after the DJ set for that, because it's so important, and we can take amongst ourselves that 2% to 3%. We're all the better for it. And one day it will be 30%, right? All right, I'll see y'all on the other side. We're going straight into Amber's session. Again, the session is, am I professional enough? See y'all.
AKA the Adulting Queen. This is going to be very interactive. Feel free to share in the chat, as I already know you're going to be, because throughout all the sessions, you all are super engaging, which I appreciate. And this is very conversational. I'm going to be sharing my experiences and asking a lot of prompting questions as we think about this topic. And I want you to share what your experiences are as well. So a little bit about me. I am from Rockland County, New York. That is, people say upstate New York. It is not upstate to me, because if you look at the full picture of New York State, it is literally at the bottom, right above the city. But people like to say because it's north, it's upstate. It's not. And I will debate that until the end of time. I have my bachelor's degree in psychology from SUNY College at Old Westbury. I have my master's degree in higher education and leadership policy studies from Hofstra University. And I've worked professionally at Florida International University, Hofstra University, Notre Dame, Maryland University, and the Baltimore Leadership School. My background has primarily been in education and higher education, working with students in college outside of the classroom to help them navigate their experience. But most recently, I've transitioned to do K through 12, helping with college persistence. And then in 2019, starting the Adulting Queen, and now kind of figuring out, like, where does that fit into my 9-to-5 regular job life that I have. I also love Beyonce, going to see her on tour, super excited about that. Cupcakes, traveling, brunch, and helping people navigate adulting. And I just feel like it's important to learn a little bit about me before we dive into the topic, because it gives a context of like where my lens of professionalism kind of has come from, and like the discussions that I have had. And I've had the opportunity to present this to different groups of people, including students, professionals, and now you all as well. So it's always great to see how is everybody viewing this topic. From this presentation, I hope that you'll learn your own personal definition of professionalism that you can walk away with. Maybe you came and you never even thought, like, what is that for you? But I hope that from this presentation, you do leave with one. You'll also learn that professionalism is multifaceted and subjective to each individual, and you'll be challenged to think critically and embrace the uncomfortable nature of this topic. And I think that people don't talk about professionalism enough in depth. It's kind of like do as I say in a situation, and we don't ever tell people why. We don't think about like where did these things come from and what culture started to be created based off of somebody saying to do something who knows how long ago. And holding a marginalized identity and having to think about things like how your hair is perceived, the music you listen to in the office, and will you be listened to because you're a woman, play a huge role into professionalism. Just some basic definitions that form around the way that we're going to have this conversation and things to know as you go into it. Professionalism is the conduct, aims, or qualities that characterize or mark a profession or professionalism. Profession is the act of openly declaring or publicly claiming a belief, faith, or opinion. Professional is to be engaged in one of the learned professions, exhibiting a courteous, conscientious, and generally business-like manner in the workplace. So for these three definitions, one, I don't like definitions that use the word in the definition because it's like that's not really telling us what it means. And for a profession, it's saying that that is an opinion or faith or something you believe. And we know that everybody does not believe the same thing or have the same opinions. And for professionals, it's like your learned profession. So like, how do we learn this? Again, that's always the question of like, how did we get here or how are we doing this thing? And generally business like is subjective. So like all of these definitions are still not giving you a clear picture of like, what is professionalism supposed to be and what does professionalism look like? White privilege plays a huge role into everything in this world, and especially professionalism, because I feel like it was created for just white straight men, because that is what the workforce looked like first for the jobs that people were having. So the definition of white privilege is inherent advantages possessed by a white person on the basis of their race in a society characterized by racial inequality and injustice. Vulnerability, something that many of us avoid due to the fear of being judged, hurt, or failure. Authenticity, acting in ways that show your true self and how you feel, understanding who we are. I think that vulnerability and authenticity play into this because when you are yourself at work, you feel comfortable, you get your best work done, you're able to figure out what are things that contribute to you having a healthy and positive experience in the workplace. And when you're vulnerable, you're able to say, if you're not getting those things, you're able to have difficult conversations. You're again, just like being yourself, which we're not always able to do that in the workplace, especially being women and Black women on top of that. And again, white privilege, I mean, I explained, and I know that you all resonate that this is really driving a lot of how our world is shaped based off of white privilege. And we need people to show up and figure out how to combat those things so that we can move forward. So the first question I want you to think about, and again, drop in the chat, your responses is how do you define professionalism? What does that look like for you? And for me, professionalism is just being able to show up as myself, do my best work, but also being on time for things, showing up and being able to follow through with what I said I'm going to do, being able to communicate effectively with my coworkers, with my colleagues, with the people that I'm working with, and also being able to show how I'm feeling comfortably without any reprimand of that being an issue because I said something, because I did something, because I wasn't as cheery one day because I was upset. So again, would love to hear and see what your definitions are. I'm sure that they will range again because professionalism is learned based off of who or what you've modeled, which is one of our next questions and things that we'll start to get into of like, how did we learn this? And how did you decide how you want to show up in your workforce? So Indeed characteristics of professionals, I Googled because again, the definitions really don't break down like what does professionalism mean. These are some of the characteristics of professionals: professional appearance, reliable, ethical behavior, organized, accountable, professional language, separate personal and professional, positive attitude, emotional control, effective time management, focused, poised, respectful of others, strong communicator, and possesses soft skills. So some of these things I think again, are obviously outlining or making people that are marginalized on the outside of the circle with these things. Saying like professional language, we know that a lot of times we're told that we're coming off too aggressive, or that we shouldn't have said something a certain way, or just even your dialect and the way that you speak is not seen as professional. But again, that is the way that you speak, and that's the way that you grew up, and it's not wrong. It's just not fitting into what society's view of professionalism is. Emotional control. We are humans. If somebody makes you upset, like, and you want to show it, that should not be an issue. Yes, you should not go flipping a desk over in your workplace, but it's okay to see that somebody is upset because something didn't go as they thought it would. Or you're even coming in to work upset just because of life. Like, again, we're humans, and it's not easy to just turn off everything that's going off outside of work off when you get into the workplace. And I feel like people want you to do that sometimes, which we just can't do that. We're human. So let me know what you think about some of these skills, or if there's any that you would add, and some that you would take away from what Indeed said that characteristics of professionals are. These are some things that I've just found online. They happened kind of a while ago now, but unfortunately still things like this are happening. So Naomi, the tennis player, she was demonstrating the power of refusal, to refuse work at the expense of our health, wellness, and more, to refuse humiliation under the guise of professionalism. And refusal is beautiful. It's even better when we do it collectively. So people were asking people to support her, and workers who aren't rich. We also, with professionalism, think that you just need to like work, and that is being professional because you're staying on top of what it is that you need to do. Saying no and resting is a part of professionalism. Like, work-life balance should just consistently be a thing for everybody. It shouldn't be like, oh, like work-life balance, we say that, but like we're not really doing it. Like, no, we need to actually do it. And we will talk more about how to implement that into your work life balance so that you can be healthy, whole in all aspects of your life. Professionalism is mostly just codified racism, classism, sexism, queerphobia, etc., meant to discredit the work and expertise of marginalized groups. Thank you for coming to her TED Talk. Again, going back to our definitions and some of the characteristics of what does it mean to be professional, it doesn't line up with how marginalized identities show up in the world. So I feel like when you go into the workforce, you're told don't do this, don't do that, but again, know why. And then this story over here to the right, the boy with the puff, that's actually somebody that I know. I went to undergrad with him, and basically what he was posting about on here was that he went for a job interview at Abercrombie & Fitch, and he put, I know, eyes, like that's not necessarily always a store that seems welcoming for marginalized communities, but he went there for a job interview to fold clothes. And he said, all seemed to be going well until the very end, when the manager told me that I got the job. If I got the job, I couldn't wear my hair like this in his puff. She told me, your hair has to look more natural, like you're on the beach. Before even going on with the rest of what he said, like that is his natural hair. That is how it's growing out of his head. And for me, right now, I don't have my afro out, I have braids, but I keep my hair out and I try to show up as myself with my hair, because that is how my hair grows out of my head. And I have grown to learn to love it, because that is how it comes out of my head, even though that's not the standard and norm of what people want professional natural hair to look like. But Black hair is professional. He went on to say that he doesn't feel like explaining that his hair is natural to this woman, and this is what it would look like if he was on the beat. And he asked, was that a policy? And she answered yes. And he responded with an awkward, squinty-eyed, pursed lip nod. And he didn't get the job because his hair, basically, without being said, that is the reason why. And to see somebody I actually know post this was like kind of crazy. And I know it happens, but we just kind of hope it doesn't happen to people we know. So to see somebody I know actually post it and be able to use like a real life example versus just Googling things just shows that we still have some work to do in this world with professionalism and it being acceptance of Black and brown people that are just being themselves. So where did you learn professionalism? Again, drop that in the chat. Think about any of your experiences. And this also ties into being an adult. Like when we are growing up, we didn't just like pop these ideas into our head. Like we had to learn it from somewhere, and we don't often reflect on like how or where did we learn them. So for me, I feel like I learned professionalism from my parents first, because again, that's who raised me. That's who I'd be watching. I think about things like going to the doctor's office with them, or going to appointments, having to get places on time, going to the store, seeing how they interacted with other people. And then that is kind of what influenced me being around other people. Then also just like being at school again and seeing like teachers and adults around you that were doing things, and how are they modeling behaviors, and what did it seem was acceptable that they were doing and what was not. As I continued to get older, becoming a student leader on campus really helped me a lot, because I was able to navigate situations and learn how to do interviews, learn how to do my resume, just do group interviews, individual interviews, helping other people, doing presentation skills, all that kind of stuff that like led into the professional world. And a huge part for me, which I'm like eternally grateful for this program, was a mentorship program that served for underrepresented students that wanted to go into higher education, and they paired you with a mentor to help you through the rest of your college career and also navigate getting a job and grad school and everything like that. And without experiences like that, and even like being at this conference, that is a huge part of how you can learn professionalism, or learn how you want to show up, and learn how you operate, and learn what is acceptable, what are things that can be challenged, what are things that are not able to be challenged, because you're getting to hear other people and get out of your own bubble. And lastly, definitely from the mentors and professionals that I looked up to, I feel like I took what I saw that I felt was good, and then things that I did not agree with too much, I was like, I'm not going to do that when I get to become a professional. Our next question is, what issues have you faced, if any, to define professionalism for yourself? And I'll give you another moment, put it in the chat, reflect. I definitely encourage you to journal throughout this one too. Again, I know that you probably all already are, because that is something from the last Blaze Summit. I quickly learned that people really love reflecting and journaling. So feel free to journal, share as you want about what your answers are to these questions. So again, what issues have you faced, if any, to define professionalism for yourself? For me, definitely code switching. I don't do it as much anymore, but I will say that early on in my career, now I'm like 8, almost 9 years professionally working out of grad school. In the beginning, it was like kind of like, again, the do's and don'ts, but never the why should you do something? Why shouldn't I do something? But I knew who I was. I knew I was a Black woman. I knew that I had natural hair. I knew that I'm from a city area, that I'm still living in city areas, and that also influences like culture and how you view things and how you speak and what you do. So code switching, I try my best now not to do it at all. I think working with students, sometimes they're shocked though when it's like I'm speaking like them or like relative to them. They're like, wait a minute, like you know about this, because they view me as a super adult or somebody that's like really old and like shouldn't know those types of things. So code switching definitely is something that has been a struggle to figure out and get through, so that you're not viewed a certain way. Again, you don't want to be viewed aggressive. You don't want to be seen as like the angry Black woman at work. So how do you show up, and how do you speak, and how do you do things that are true to you, but not always having to have uncomfortable conversations because somebody's uncomfortable with you? I would say my hair too, like I mentioned before, just being comfortable with whatever hairstyle I chose. We know that Black women are chameleons in hairstyles. Like you look great in any hairstyle you wear, but you always get the questions, you always get people touching it. So those are things that I had to think about, of like, if I'm going to a conference or if I'm doing something, like what is my hair going to look like? If I have an interview, like what hairstyle am I going to have on that? And then like, what am I going to look like when I get there? Now I don't let those things bother me as much anymore, but those are things that I thought about initially. And lastly, dressing the part, which we will discuss this a little bit more too, with how things have changed in the pandemic and working from home. But I feel like dressing the part, people always say dress for the position you want, or you want to be overdressed is better than being underdressed. but I feel like genuinely people should just be able to be comfortable and presentable in a way that the dress codes or policies are like clear and consistent. Obviously, like no ripped jeans, no ripped pants, no like short shorts, short skirts, like things like that make sense. But when you get to the point that you're policing, like men have to wear ties or women have to wear dresses or skirts and things like that, that just becomes too much. All right, next question is, how have your identities played a role in professionalism? A lot of this, again, intertwines with what we've already been saying, but for me, it's my hair. I'm thinking about the music that I'm playing in the office. I remember one time a student came in when I was playing, I think like Drake or something, some popular recent song at the time. And they're like, oh, like you listen to this? And I'm like, yes. So for me, I think that when I'm in an office space, I want to decorate my office to be open and inclusive for everybody, but also for there's something that somebody can come in and connect with me on. So I have like my Funko Pops, I have Beyonce stuff, I have pictures of like past students and places I've lived and little like knickknacks and things. And I just want people to feel welcomed when they come in, and being able to like see something that kind of like breaks the ice so that then a conversation can continue. And even sometimes with the things that I have up in my office, I'm like, okay, like, honestly, if a white person comes in and they see this, what are they going to think, or what are they going to do? Or just anybody that's not Black, or even if they're not a woman and they see something that's in there, like, what is the question going to be that they're asking about it? And I personally don't mind questions if it's not coming from a place of ignorance and like annoyance. If you're just genuinely asking and you can tell if somebody's genuinely interested in just asking a question, that is completely fine with me, which is another reason of why I put things in my office or listen to certain types of things that are relative to me and my identities. Being a woman in a position of power, thinking again, would I be taken seriously? And at my first job ever, I ran a residence hall, and one of my students had received a phone call. They were working the front desk, and somebody was like, oh, can I speak with your boss? And she was like, oh yeah, like she'll get back to you, blah, 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 whatever. And the person on the phone was a man and was like, oh, like he was shocked that a woman was running the building. And I just don't know why that was shocking to them or what he thought I should have been doing, but those are the identities I feel like for me that most often play a role in how I show up for that. So professionalism in a pandemic, we are thankfully trying to get through this thing now, like 3 years out, but it has definitely affected the workplace and how people view professionalism. So what has changed now that we've had a chance to work from home? Definitely an expectation that you're always available because you're online. There's now a need for us to implement more boundaries because work is at home or wherever you're bringing it to. Distractions from family or your household needing assistance, the dogs and cats and animals always jumping up in the screens, babies crying, and then people are always asking questions about that. People are literally looking into your house. And then the work attire has kind of gone out the window because people only see from like the chest up. So when people have to start going back into offices and the dress codes, it's kind of like, what is the dress code? What's acceptable? What's not? How we communicate and engage. Before, it was very easy to just see somebody in their office or walk by and then you start a conversation. Now you kind of have to like be very intentional about how you are communicating with people and when, because you have just email, phone call, Zoom, Slack, but people are very zoomed out. So it's hard to get people on some Zoom meetings that are going to be super long. And then camera on versus camera off. I do not believe that your camera being off means that you're not engaged. For me personally, being on a long Zoom meeting with my camera on the whole time, like that's harder for me to engage than with it off. But I know that some companies are like, oh, everybody's cameras always have to be on. Everybody's cameras have to be on if you're presenting. They have to be on if you're doing this. They have to be on if you're doing that. Stop policing people in their own homes. If they are signed up to do this job, you have to trust that they are doing this job. So is the idea of professionalism changing? I feel like this is just a simple yes or no in the chat. Do you think it's changing? And then if you do, why? If you don't, why not? The pandemic has shifted, but is it actually changing, or are we reverting back to the old ways and things that we just did just because we did them? And I'm very much like not a person, excuse me, that is going to just do something because we're doing it. Like, No, that is not me. I need to know like why, and it needs to be something that makes sense. So now, as we've gone through this and you've been able to reflect, what is your definition of professionalism for yourself as you move forward? And if you never had one before, that's completely fine. Now you have one and you can kind of formulate your own personal branding, your own personal values, message around that. And you can also step into your business or step into your next role with thinking about, this is what my definition of professionalism is, and does the place I'm going align with that? And so then a step further, you made your definition of professionalism, but what is your company's definition of professionalism? Whether it's your own business, you're working for somebody else, what is the definition of professionalism for the company? If you even know it, because this is not something that is really, again, widely talked about. I feel like you start working somewhere and you just have to like catch on to the culture and catch on to what is going on there. Nobody's explicitly telling you and sitting you down to say, these are the do's and don'ts, and this is why, or like, this is what's going on. And if you don't know it for your company, I encourage you to ask or create one if you are the owner or in that position that you can create the definition of professionalism. And then lastly, you want to think about like, how are these definitions similar and or different? Because again, if you work for yourself and you can kind of create the definition, it most likely will be in alignment with what you believe. If you work for somebody else and it's different, that's okay. But you then have to think like, do you want to be a part of something that doesn't align? Is it something that you can withstand? And is it just like completely egregious that like, this is just not a space that is beneficial for you? Now we're just going to shift into the vulnerability, authenticity part of how we show up and what professionalism looks like, and sharing some resources with you. So Trill or Not Trill, these are my two friends. They created this, and their message is like, we wear kicks to work, because they are in suits, as you see, but they're wearing sneakers, and you can wear sneakers to work. Sneakers are usually one of the things that are like on the list of like, don't wear sneakers. But you can wear sneakers with a suit and it's still professional. You can wear sneakers with a dress and it's still professional. You can wear sneakers in any capacity and it is professional. There are a lot of things that you can mix and match to make yourself still be presentable in the sense of whatever environment you're going into. So we talked about like authenticity is understanding who we are. Think about, what do you bring each day to work and what makes you feel comfortable, and what can help you connect with students or whoever it is that you're working with. And for me, like working with students, like I said, I bring my like my hair as is, showing up like that, the Funko Pops, the way my office looks, the way that I dress sometimes. Like I like wearing graphic tees a lot that have a purposeful message on it, like with a blazer, with a cardigan, even with jeans. Like those things I feel like matter, because the people that you're around and working with see you for who you are and are able to connect with you. Being vulnerable, you don't know everything, and that is okay. And you want to create a team that helps you to understand, again, students or the people that you're working with, so that you can continue being the best that you can be. And adaptability, students keep changing, the world keeps changing, we all keep changing as adults and business owners. So know that education can happen anywhere, and these conversations can happen anywhere. Like you can always infuse this into whatever you're doing. So what is something that you're doing to remain authentic in your work while still being quote unquote professional? I personally don't even like the word professional or professionalism, but just again, for the sake of our conversation and what we're talking about today, using it, but I don't typically use it in the workplace. Like when people say like, oh, they're not being professional, or they're like doing whatever, and like I don't view that as them displaying professionalism. I'm kind of like, but why don't you think that? And then again, what have you said to the person, or how have you tried to teach them or guide them in the way that you would like this to go for them? So again, what's something that you're doing to remain authentic in your work while still being professional? And I think that when we go into the workplace and like you're thinking about having conversations and how to show up and how to communicate and how to just be an effective team and build a culture of comfortability with everybody that's involved in the business and company. These are 4 courage building skill sets that came from Brene Brown's Dare to Lead. The first one is rumbling with vulnerability. Without this skill set, the other three are impossible to put into practice. Our ability to be daring leaders will never be greater than our capacity for vulnerability. The next one is living into your values requires a clear understanding of your values. We are clear about what we believe and hold important. This is just like valuable to any business, any company. If you don't know what's important or you don't have like your top 3 buckets or goals, you can't really make any other decisions or make any other movements from that because you're kind of just like haphazardly doing things. Braving trust. Trust is the glue that holds organizations together. We ignore trust issues at the expense of our own performance and the team's success. We are like so quick to go to our coworker or go to somebody else and talk about like a difficult moment or something we didn't like that somebody did, but we don't always go to like that person because we think we know how they're going to react, or we just don't want to deal with the emotions of that, or we don't want to deal with it. But if you build the trust and you have these conversations and you just have check-ins and things like that for people to feel comfortable, then you can really move forward. And lastly, learning to rise. When we don't own our stories of failure, setbacks, and hurt, they own us, and we should apply key learnings to future situations. The failures are what helps us really push forward, because I feel like if you think about like something that you just really did not like that happened, or something that you were like, how am I going to get out of this? Like, this is the biggest mistake I've ever made out of my life. That moment like fueled you to keep going because you knew that you wanted to do better and you knew that you wanted to get somewhere greater than you ever imagined based off of that. So some important questions to ask when you're thinking about the professionalism, authenticity, and vulnerability and like tying them together is, what do you need to show up and do the work? The work is whatever it is that you're doing or whatever the topic or issue is that is in the forefront for you and your business and organization. What will get in the way of showing up? So if you're going to like a meeting or something, sometimes what can get in the way of showing up is you're thinking about your kids because they had a sniffle and like they're at school, but like they might call because they're like sick and they might need to come home. It could be that you have a million other meetings after this and that's what's on your mind of what you need to get through. It could just be that like you just don't like this coworker or the person you're talking to, but thinking about when you come into this meeting or whatever it is, for yourself, knowing like what will get in the way of showing up and trying to leave that at the door when you're entering like the meetings or you're having to talk to somebody and you're having to engage with other people. When you're by yourself, it's a little easier to just kind of like let your brain wander and get things done. But I think to make sure that everybody's time is efficient and that you're working as efficiently as you can, trying to know what's going to get in the way of showing up and being vocal about that before you start meetings. And what does support look like from yourself, from your colleagues, from your business partners, from whoever it is? What does support look like to help you accomplish these things? And what are your cultural norms? And are you unintentionally excluding people through these? And cultural norms is what falls into professionalism. So are you excluding people because of a cultural norm that you might not have actually ever said or told anybody, but you know because you've been there for so long? Is honest and productive feedback being given? Productive being the key thing here. Everybody's feedback is not productive, and sometimes it's not honest, and it's like feelings based. So I think that when you go to approach people to give feedback, having actual examples, having actual concrete things, not just going in all willy-nilly trying to lie on somebody, and offering the solutions and offering a space for them to respond as well. Are you sharing bold ideas to meet changing demands and need for innovation? And is there trust in your organization? So again, all these things tied together because you can't just talk about professionalism without talking about marginalized identities, without talking about authenticity, without talking about vulnerability, because for somebody to show up as their professional self, or even for them to understand what professionalism means for themselves, they need to feel vulnerable and have an authentic place to come from about what is it that they are doing to navigate working from their standpoint. And then lastly, these are just our resources that I have for you. Dare to Lead by Brene Brown, like I've mentioned. I love that book. She really gives you a lot of activities that you can do as well to talk about these things and talk through things. And the activities that she gives you, it can be used for like any scenario. So if you want to talk about professionalism specifically with your organization or your business, you can use the 4 courage building mindsets that she has, and then she teaches you how to rumble, which is really like having a difficult conversation, and then you walk through that. But you can again use that for like any topic. The Nap Ministry, if you do not follow the Nap Ministry, you definitely should. She talks about how rest is resistance and we are in a capitalistic society, and how we can stop the rat race of working and continuously going. The Power of Vulnerability, Brene Brown, and The Professional Troublemaker, Lovey Ajayi Jones. That is another one of my favorite books, because she basically just says like the world is a dumpster fire, but we are here trying to do the best we can every day. And if we basically just be ourselves, we stand up for ourselves and we stand up for others and we use our voice, then we will be able to get farther in this world, even if you feel like you're doing something that's hard. But if you know it's right, then you need to do it. And she's also adapted it for little troublemakers, for like teenagers, and even one for toddlers and younger kids as well. And lastly, Trill or Not Trill, which I spoke a little bit about. They also have a book, We Wear Kicks to Work, Authenticity and Innovation in Professional Spaces. So thank you so much. I hope that you really did get something out of this, and it started a thought process for you of like, what does professionalism look like? How can you be vulnerable in your work? How can you be your authentic self in your work? And what does that look like for you? And how do you truly create your work-life balance, but also show up as yourself in spaces that accept you as yourself?
So this workshop, Amber, prompted so much commentary in the chat, and I actually want to encourage people to be controversial. Okay, I actually saw some comments. So definitely raise your hand and put your comments in the Q&A. I saw some comments that showed some resistance, right, to things being super laxed, right? I saw some comments showing a lot of things. So let's like unpack it, right? Because this is definitely complex. Amber, thank you so much for sparking such I think healthy debate on this stuff. I'm going to bring the first question on the stage, and then I'll bring the first hand on the stage, okay? So the first question is coming from Crystal Mordyke, and she asks, if you are the owner and only worker of your company, do you feel like it is still important to define or establish the do's and don'ts of what is considered professional for your company? I love this question.
Yeah, no, that's a great question. So for me, like I told you all, I am about to start a new job on Monday. Yay. So I've been balancing the like working 9 to 5, having to deal with like what other people's like standards, professionals and stuff is, but also my own business. I think, it's just me doing my business. So I think for your business of being like the owner and the sole person working on it right now, it's not like pressing to set those standards and write out a whole manual or like outline it. But I think you should already have like, what is the consistency in your business? And we talked a lot about this yesterday of like, just how you respond to emails. Is it 2 days? Is it 5 days? Like that can be something seen as quote unquote professional, like just how you're handling processes, like what's the turnaround time, communication, how do you show up, like what is your branding? I think that is a part of professionalism and what is professional for your business. So you don't need a huge plan, 100-page document of like on Mondays we do this, on Tuesdays we do that, this is how we speak to each other. But you do need a basis of this is what my business stands for, this is what I show up as for my business, this is what I tolerate in my business, this is what I don't tolerate in my business. And when you get anybody on board with you, then you can kind of just like pass that to them and and obviously as you grow, like you'll want to define those things, but it doesn't have to be anything complicated. Like it's already in your head of what it is. You've just never had a conversation like this to stimulate like what does this mean? Like what is this? Because you're doing it already.
So good. And I love that answer, Amber. And I'll just say, I'm going to say this especially because we have to get out of only having less than 2% of businesses with employees, right? Like think about this and write it down if it's helpful, okay? You cannot scale relationships, but you can scale culture. What do you mean by that, Casey? One day, all of you will have a 100-person plus company. You will, because how you going to impact millions without it? Right? And so think about it. You're not going to be able to talk to 100 people in a week, right? And tell them, well, this is how I usually do this, and this is how I usually do this, and this is how I usually do this. You can't, because you can't scale relationships, right? At the best, you can have about 10 good folks, and that's still too many. 10 good folks under you, and then they, right, take everything you taught them and they scale it to their teams, right? And so it is important, right? Like Amber is saying, like the things that you're already doing, you think about what that is and what needs to be replicated, because it does matter. So because Casey, right? So we have a location independent business, for instance, right? So Hannah works in London, Toya works in out of South Carolina, Priscilla works out of Nigeria, Raven works out of South Carolina, right? Because Casey shows up on our meetings, even if it's a 6-figure client, like legit with the braids and legit relaxed. Like I don't even put on foundation for my meetings, right? I can't scale relationships, but I can scale culture. And it helps Raven know how she can show up on meetings. So a lot of people have had meetings with Raven thus far, and she feels comfortable having her baby, because that's our culture inside. Not all companies are like that. I do that on purpose, right? I can't scale relationships, but I can scale culture. And so you do, right? Like Amber's talking about, the things that are in your head, like you have to embody it, right? Like you have to make sure that they know when the Geek Squad comes to your house, right? You expect something from the Geek Squad. You would expect something different, right, from a person that does white glove service to pick out your clothing, right? They are usually dressed a certain way. You can't scale relationships, but you can scale culture. So think about it and think about what you're building, right? Because it can be anything. Facebook has wine fountains on the inside. Twitter does too. I used to live in the Bay for about 4 years, right? Bank of America did not. That's where I work. We did not have wine. We were not fed every day. But Mark Zuckerberg, right, he scaled culture, right? Just like Brian Moynihan, CEO of Bank of America, scaled culture. So think about it. But love that answer so much, Amber, because you're right. Erica, I'm bringing you on the stage. You have the mic. You can ask your question of Amber.
Oh wait, can we not? Oh, there we go. I was like, can I not turn on my camera?
Erica,
I don't think get my camera. I didn't turn on my camera in the general session because I was actually getting ready. I was actually doing my hair. But I'm really glad that you did this session, because when I was preparing my headshots for this summit as a speaker, I really had to resist the Black girl urge of straightening my hair for a special occasion. Now owning my magazine, Bling, Black Leaders Increasing Net Gains, I really want to move forward with like showing people in their natural light. Like, you don't need these lashes, you don't need this weave, this 30 busted down inch weave. The hair that comes out of your head is good enough. And it's just insane to think about the processes of damaging your hair and just like the lengths people will go to get this desirable look. And it just, I'm just really happy that you did this, because I feel like we need this. We need to see ourselves. We need to look ourselves in the mirror and see ourselves for who we really are, and be able to look at other people and see ourselves in them as well. So you crushed it. I just had to get on here and give you your flowers, and thank you so much.
No, thank you. With you saying that about the hair specifically, like my hair usually is not like this. It's always like this because I had a wedding on Saturday. My hair would never look like this, like usually, because I'm just usually wearing my fro, berets, a wig, switching it up. And I think that to get over like, oh my God, what is somebody going to say? I just let them say whatever they're going to say. But if they get crazy, like somebody said in the chat, somebody grabbed full on, I would also have no job after that incident occurred. But I think that you just need to show up and know that like your hair looks fine because it's growing out of your head that way. And what also really helped me is just taking pictures. Like people say that a lot too. Like even if you don't feel like you look how you want to look, take pictures, because when you look back, you're like, oh, that actually was really nice. And I cut my hair off myself in 2014, and the immediate next day I got braids because I was like, I don't know what to do with this. I don't know what's going to happen. I don't know how to work this. Like what's going on? But when I look back at that picture of like my short fro, I was like, I looked really nice, and I didn't think that I did because of that. So take pictures, wear your hair how you want it to be wear. I get on FaceTime with my dad all the time, and he's like, "What's going on with your head?" I'm like, "Nothing. This is how it grows out of my hair. You unfortunately take it sometimes, but still don't let that like dim your light. Like know that it is fine. It grows out of our head like that."
Thank you so much.
Thank you,
And you're
Erica.
very so it's amazing.
Gorgeous. That's right. Okay, I'm going to pivot to a question and then I'll pivot to a person coming on the stage. So, China, be ready. I'm going to come to you after this question. Oh, actually, China, I'm going to show your question on the stage and then I'll just bring you on the stage. Okay, because both are you. So, China asks, advice for someone whose boss or manager constantly complains about an employee's professionalism. This employee is very professional according to corporate standards. And I'll bring China on stage as well, especially if you need more context, Amber.
Yeah. So for me though, because I started working like a full-time job before I ever thought about owning a business or being an entrepreneur, like that is what I would be dealing with. And unfortunately, like I have had all horrible Black women supervisors. Like I do not know why. Like, but any supervisor I've had has been a Black woman in my professional roles has not been a good fit for me. There's been a scale, but like none of them are good. Like I'm not gonna be like, oh my God, like love this person, this was great. Like I'd reach back out to them. There was always something that was like, come on, like why? So I think that when you're dealing with other people, specifically your supervisor, that just is not like being professional themselves or holding standards that, you know, if you were doing that it would be an issue. Kind of gauging like what is your culture of your company, because is it okay? Well, not okay. That's not even the right language. Is it going to be an issue if you go to their supervisor or if you talk to somebody else above just to brainstorm? But I think it's always important for difficult conversations like that to go in with like, I'm just coming to you for advice, or I'm coming to like report this, or I'm coming to see if this is an issue, versus just going in there and dumping it all and then like you walk out and then something is turned on you in a way that you didn't mean for it to be. So that's one way that you can talk to somebody else if that is something that you're comfortable with. And then if not, like just having the honest conversation with the supervisor of saying like, before having to dive all into it, just first telling them like, hey, like I'm actually not comfortable when you're speaking about my coworker to me. Like that's not something I'm comfortable with. But then next, if like they continue to do it, then just being like, okay, like this is not okay. And if you have like documentation, this comes across as petty, but it's really not. If they have like, what are their standards and what do they expect of you all, like pulling that back up to say like, this is what you expect of us. And like, you put this in writing, like this is our contract, this is what we signed, whatever. And I don't feel like it's being upheld here, because at least you tried to give them a chance to change the behavior because you expressed to them like you're not comfortable with it.
Thank you so much, Amber. You said a lot there. And you mentioned, about having a supervisor that was a Black woman, right? And not really, well, you didn't say getting along with, but I'm going to use that terminology because as a teacher, I've struggled with that. A few former supervisors were Black women, and it was unfortunately difficult to go to work and do my job effectively because of the nitpicking, whether it was my hair or what I had on. And I believe that I dress professional. I'm not, my clothing is neat. My hair is neat, whether it's my curly fro or my hair blown out, and so that is something that I would struggle with. And I am actually getting ready to start a new job. And that was actually a fear of mine. I'm coming into the new job, just fearful, like, okay, I'm getting ready to go into this new job and I don't want my supervisor, I don't want a repeat of what I dealt with at the old school, And I just have another part to this question, and that is, so we talked about the supervisor aspect of it, but how does that work? Would it be the same with a team? Like say if I'm on a team of 5 or 6 teachers, and how do you continue to remain professional if those sisters are tearing each other down, Not necessarily me, but they're tearing each other down.
Yeah, no, it's so hard because like yesterday at one of the tables, we were talking about how like coming into a space like this we all are sharing our very different opinions, but like nobody's upset about anybody's opinion. Like this is really an open conversation. Like, and this is what we need more of, that like when you're approaching your supervisor or you're approaching your team to tell them like you don't like something or there's an issue, or even just like you want to learn more about something. Because I think when you come from the place of like, I'm just curious, why are you doing this? Or I'm just curious of your opinion on this. Because most times when you actually talk to somebody about something that is coming across as like an issue, they don't realize it that way because they're operating in the lens of what they know and how they've operated other places. So for a team, I think that is more difficult sometimes because you're working with them typically like all the time. But take the same approach of like trying to talk to somebody first that like you feel comfortable asking about, one, to see like if they are realizing the same thing. Because at work, I'm always the person that if something's happening, I'm again not coming feelings based. I'm gonna go and be like, Casey, did you see that China did this? Or like, do you feel that way? And saying like I'm not coming from like I'm trying to start drama, but it is what it is. Like that's what's happening in front of us. So if they agree, they don't agree, whatever, then you decide like how do you want to try to address the issue with them of the one-on-one. And then unfortunately, if it still doesn't continue, I think then you would have to tell like your supervisor or something. But that gets tricky because from what you've shared, it kind of seems like that might be a little, you're not sure how if they would respond, your supervisor, if you told them. But also when you go to your supervisor, that is always seen again as like something that is so horrible. And I wish people would just approach these things as like, we're all adults. We're all here to do a job. We are open for communication and getting better, but it's how you approach that conversation. Like you don't want to come in guns blazing saying like, oh, like you did this and I'm so mad and like I don't like working with you, whatever. Like it's more so like, hey, you've been doing this thing and this is what I've noticed, but it's making it difficult for me to complete X. It's making it difficult for me to communicate with you, whatever it is, like using the I statements and making it very clear and plain and not using feelings, like I said. So like giving the example of what they did or something like that.
Okay, thank you so much.
Yeah, and China, before you go, I want to, definitely circle with Amber offline. I want to double click on what Amber said just now about giving examples. So like the key here, because this is actually strategy, right? Like if we are to become CEOs, and we will, hear me very carefully, right? If we are to become CEOs, at that point, the job is actually not about, I say this all the time, but I got to, so it resonates in our spirit. It's not about being the hardest worker. Like nothing about being a CEO at all, literally at all, is about like doing the like product and servicing of your business. It's about like leadership and feedback. And so one thing to get strategy around this, Radical Candor is a book that I would strongly recommend that all of us read. Now, I will say the lens is coming from a woman with a lot more privilege because she's a white woman, but the concepts, if we are to adopt the audacity of the mediocre white man, the concepts are absolutely true, okay? So Radical Candor actually helps us understand how like you actually have to be able to give this direct feedback, and because there's such a thing as called ruinous empathy. Ruinous empathy means you so nice and you so agreeable and you so approachable that people that suck continue to suck and they don't even know. Like, you know, like people on your team, your executive suite, like the juniors, like they don't even know, right? There's obnoxious, I forget the noun, but there's an obnoxious approach where you just cutting people down and it's not helpful, etc. But we want to live in that box of radical candor. And I will say all of that is understanding the strategy of feedback. What is not effective, we do this a lot. What is not effective is you think you're better than everybody. And when you do that, we blah, blah, blah. Like that is actually not feedback because none of that is behaviors, right? What is more effective is saying, last week at the 2:00 meeting, when we were all standing by the water fountain, do you remember that? They'll say, yeah. Okay, so like already you're grounding the person, right? Because when you say something that gets them in alert mode, it's done, right? And then if you say, when you exhibited the behaviors of affirming Crystal and the way you spoke to her and how softly you spoke, and then you underscored that with resources, that's incredible leadership. When you're giving positive feedback, that person knows the tangible things that they need to keep on doing and keep on going versus you're a leader. I swear that is so vague that it's not helpful. In the same vein, it could be around the water cooler. And then when you came in and you were huffing and puffing really heavily, and then you nudge with your shoulder this person. And when they asked you a question, you brushed it out, whatever, right? Like those are the, because now you're talking about behavior, you're not talking about the person, right? But we actually have to be able to lean in to feedback like that, so we get the reps in and learn how to like mold people. It will work, I promise. Not saying everybody, right? But like we got to get the reps in, like actually describing behaviors and being radical about the candor and learning how to like stretch the things that are amazing. Not like you a leader. Like I say sometimes, you a monster. Like Raven knows why she's a monster though, right? I literally have to, I tell her the behaviors, right? And people who don't do well, I actually tell them the behavior so they know which things to tweak and don't throw the baby out with the bathwater. Does that make sense?
It does. Thank you so much. Thank you all.
You're welcome, mama. Okay, so Amber, I'm gonna flip another one on the stage. Y'all, what's coming up next? Ahira, I'm bringing you up. What's coming up next though is personal branding with joy. Very important, so that you don't go through the panini. Well, we already went through the panini, so that you don't go through the recession fronting. Okay. Ahira, I'm bringing you up to the stage, mama.
Hey, Queens. Thank you so much for this, Amber. I really did appreciate your focus in terms of professionalism. It is definitely a conversation that is greatly needed, especially, in just my humble opinion, especially those in the younger generation, because as we were reading in the chat, you know, a lot of young people who are going out into the world are, you know, just wearing those tight jeans and things that you know, may not be suited at the time of their culture or their office culture. A question that I have is regarding, you know, in terms of hair. Do you, in your opinion, and just based off your observation, do you see that the ones who are wearing the extensions, the 22-inch weaves and all of that, do you feel like that is shifting in terms of continuing to wear that? Because I know that I used to work in higher education, and all these girls would just be wearing hairs galore. They'll have the money for their hair, but they won't have money for books. But that's another discussion. So my question is, do you feel that there may be a shift in regards to how obsessed a lot of the young people or just people in general in terms of just extension hair? Do you feel like that is shifting today in the workforce?
I was very shocked about how many high school age students are wearing, like you said, like 24-inch weaves, like down to their butt, like edges laid, like caked on makeup. Their clothes are very tight, very short, because my most recent position was at a high school. And I was like super shocked. And then even when I would go on like the college visits and like just working on college campuses, there is something that is changing, but I don't necessarily know why they want to do it, because you can do what you want. It looks beautiful. It's convenient sometimes, realistically, depending on what you're doing. But I think that, like you said about the money part, like priorities are in the wrong place. Like you just spent $400 on your hair, but you don't know how you're getting to school tomorrow. Like things like that don't make sense. And I don't know. Well, I think that they are associating it with like that is making them beautiful and that is a part of their worth, because like if they don't have makeup on or they don't have the lashes or if they don't have their hair done, they don't feel like they look the part. Like students would come to school like just with their regular hair, bun, whatever it was, but then would say like, oh, I'm not going to take my school pictures because like my hair's not done. And I was like, no, like your hair is done. Like, and I would walk by girls every day just with regular ponytails and tell them like their hair is nice. Like you look nice, because I don't think people are telling them those things. In the workforce per se though, I haven't worked with directly in a professional setting of like Gen Z or like, well, I guess yes, Gen Z is like coming up in the workforce now. Most people I know have their natural hair. But for the future generation coming up after them, I think this is going to get interesting because it's not wrong. Like obviously, however you want your hair to look is however you want your hair to look. But going back to professionalism and what it is that people expect when you show up, they being white people basically aren't going to look at a Black girl with 24-inch weave and think that she's capable of doing something, even though her hair does not define what she's doing. So that's like a difficult conversation of how to not even teach them properly, but you all get what I'm trying to say, of like how to guide them without telling them like what they're doing is wrong, or making them kind of just be like rebellious and then like really going rogue with how they show up and how they present themselves. Because we know from our experiences, and again, everybody that's shared here, that like the world just does not allow people to be their true self if it's not going to fit into that box. And Gen Z is not trying to fit into a box at all. And the people who are in the workforce and who are hiring are older people. So if they have not done the work to bridge the gap and understand the younger generation, they're immediately going to write them off. So your question is great. And like even just has me thinking about things, because the younger generation wants to do what they want. The older generation is sometimes stuck on the old way of doing things. The millennials in the middle, it's like some of us are like, we're going to try to change and adapt, but also some of us are like, whatever. But it's going to get very weird and interesting. And especially when Gen Z then becomes in those higher up positions eventually, like I think that it's going to be nothing like what the workforce is now, which still could be good or bad, depending on like your functional area, like where you work, what you do, and all of that.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
Thank you, Ira. Appreciate it. All right, and I appreciate the controversial question coming up at the end. I was hoping we got into it, right? And I'm going to say this because we are not a monolith. Actually, that's my favorite thing about panel discussions. We get to talk about so many different things in the same sitting and know that there is like so much room, right, for all of us to feel safe and at home. Casey's view is this. Now, this ain't Bible, but this is my view. Thank God Gen Z are in their 20s now. Thank God they're about to be managing teams. Thank God they're going to be CEOs. Thank God that entrepreneurship is the broadest and fastest path for wealth creation, because they don't need the company that does not accept them as they are. They actually don't need to care about these systems that were not designed for them. They don't have to assimilate that like I did, because there was no path for me before Instagram was popping. There was no path for me before low code, no code allowed me to push out an app into the world without having to go like, oh, it gives me chill. Thank God that Gen Z are now adults and they can change up the game, because somebody has to dismantle the master's house. The master's tools will never dismantle the master's house. And so this is the importance of you establishing the culture for your company. If your culture is not accepting to the people, right, that you don't fully, vibe with, and it is old school, that's completely fine, right? Because like I mentioned, I went through Bank of America, which is very different from Facebook, right? And so I decided to work there. And at the moment in which that no longer fit who I was, there was so much more space for me in the world. And so I mean this. And so none of this is bad or right, right? Anybody that has chosen to take the path because that's their version of safety, right? And for some people, it's putting the food on the table right now. And I'm gonna deal with these folk, right? And for some people, it's like, I'll be broke for a shawty, right? Like there's no right or wrong path, but I see it as, thank God these babies are adults now, and they look folk in their face and say, look, don't call me after 5 o'clock. And they make a way. Like one more stat, right? Because I really do say thank God. Like I feel like baby boomers, Gen Xers, they crawl so that millennials can walk, and we walk so that Gen Z can run. Period. Right?
Yeah.
They make less than us, but they travel more than us. That's deep, because it means we care about the Louis Vuitton bags and we care about impressing their friends, and they actually say, I want to see the world. Like we did not have that audacity. So thank God that they are managers. Amber,
it's like, no, I just think it's so interesting, and thank you all. And again, like what I'm saying is exactly what you're saying, Casey, that this is not like, it's not one size fit all. And what I'm saying is based on my experience and what I have seen from people I'm working with. But next time I do this presentation, I might have a different perspective because I've met different people. I've talked to different things. Right. So I just want to emphasize like that this conversation and a lot of them that we're having are based on where we are and what we know today. When we show up next time, I might come back and be like, listen here, let me fill you in on Gen Z professionalism. Like you don't know where this is going to go. So just thank you all. And this was a really great conversation. I'm super excited. If there were some white people in the building, might not have gone as smoothly because that could have been.
Oh, we good. We good. Let me tell you something how I get down over here, sis. We good.
I know, because when I did deal with white people, like people were actually shocked. Like they were like, what? This is happening? And I was like, and this is why you need to be in here. Because
it's fine. Now that's millennial talking, right? That's what I'm talking about. Like, thank God for entrepreneurship, right? Because if it don't matter to you, it don't matter to your company. Thank you so much, Amber. Love you so much, sis. Really quick before you go, Alexis actually has a gig for you. I'm gonna show her really quickly on the stage so y'all connect. She says, "Great workshop, Amber. I work exclusively with real estate agents, mostly Black women. Can I do a role play with you?" So y'all, yes, y'all connect. All right, we're gonna keep it rolling. This was only the very first session on day 4. We have so much more. I'm so happy that Amber shook up the table. I think this was the most shaking of the table thus far, and it's important so we can have vocabulary for the ways that we feel. No matter what side of the spectrum we're on, we are going into personal branding with joy from the joy strategist herself, Erica Lasan. If you've never experienced her, she is a ball of amazing energy. This is a workshop, so have your pens and your papers out. She's given a whole lot of rich perspective. And then right after that is the DJ set with DJ Red Corvette. We'll see you on the other side. Bye.
With joy, one feel good thing at a time. All right, if you're ready, give me a J in the comments for joy. Let me see. Y'all are ready. All right, I'm just gonna hop into it. I'm really excited for this slideshow. And in the meantime, as we're setting this up, I would love to hear where you guys are coming from, what the name of your businesses are, as well as why you are here in this session. What are some of the biggest things that you're currently struggling with as it relates to your content creation process and branding yourself? Let me know. Drop those things in the chat and we will check out a little bit of what you have to say. And I look forward to getting into it with y'all. Okay. Can you guys see my presentation? If you can, let me know. All right. I think you guys got it. So, like I said, my name is Erica Lasan, and I'm so excited to have you here, learning how you can begin to brand yourself with joy as you share your story, build your business, and align your brand identity one feel-good thing at a time. Ooh. So I want to walk you through a little bit about today's agenda. The main idea here is to amplify your joy around building your business, your branding, and your marketing process, because it can be a little hard, especially with all the things that you have to manage as a business owner, as a woman, as a person, more than likely as a Black woman, okay, or a woman of color. There are so many levels to having a business and making sure that you stay aligned in how you operate your business. But like I said earlier, the content piece, the marketing and branding piece should be the part where you really sprinkle your sauce in understanding who you serve and how you serve them well. In order to kind of illustrate this process and show you why it's so beneficial and how I know it works, I'm going to take you through my journey to purpose. This is how I came to understand this process. This is also how I've also began to build my business and how I know it works so well. And also sharing some journey stories that have taken place along the way from individuals and clients who use this process to help them in building their business. Then I'm going to take you through the Weave Joy method and sharing 5 steps to branding yourself and creating content that connects with joy. And we're going to be taking some questions. So if you have them, make sure you drop them in the chat. Or if you'd like, you can hold on to the questions and put them at the end of the conversation when we're done with the presentation. So that would probably be better. So that way we don't lose sight of where the questions are along the way. Hold your questions, write them down though, because I don't want you to forget them. Write them down. And then you can put all of your questions at the end of this presentation so we can make sure we get into them and answer them so that you get what you need. All right, you guys ready? I think you're ready. So, hi there, again. My name is Erica Lasan, and as a joy strategist, I help overwhelmed and entrepreneurial women develop creative solutions to understand how they can infuse more time, energy, and space for joy into their life and business. And the main idea here is to help you all find freedom in how you're building your business and doing so in a way that doesn't feel like work. But as a corporate consultant, I also facilitate workshops and trainings to help organizations learn how they can maximize engagement, increase productivity, and prioritize well-being for the women and caregivers in their organizations, because it makes a difference, y'all. But as we get started in this conversation around branding yourself, I want you to know that your identity matters, okay? I'm gonna say this again. Your identity and how you identify yourself matters. Personally, I identify myself first and foremost as a child of God. I also consider myself to be a multi-passionate creative because there's so many ways that I do the things that I do. And as I've kind of gone through my journey, I began to understand how all of those things contribute to my purpose and the way in which I serve others. On top of all of this, I'm a woman, right? I'm also a mom, a wife. I'm first generation American, I'm Nigerian American, and I'm a lover of people. So all of these things really contribute to how I identify not only who I am, but how it helps me show up in my business and in building my brand. And the reason in which I started off with a child of God is because it really helps frame how I do the things that I do and the understanding and the mindset that is needed to facilitate the things that I do. So as I ask this, as we move on, I'd like to have you take a quick moment, like, I don't know, 3 seconds to consider your identity. How do you identify yourself? And I want you to write that down on a piece of paper, because what I want you to understand is that the way you consider yourself, the identities that you give yourself is first and foremost in the branding process. So often, especially as women, especially if you're a caregiver, it can be very easy to allow other people to place an identity on you, an identity of who you are, what you should be doing, how you should be doing things. As a business owner, how you should be operating your business. And it can be very easy to be influenced by other people's thoughts, their considerations, and their experiences. And we can take that on as women, and it impacts not only our life, it impacts our careers, and it can also impact our relationships. So the moment you get clear on your identity, it really helps foster space for joy in the business building and branding process. But don't worry, we're going to get into it a little bit more. So write down your identity. How do you identify yourself? And as we begin to do this, I want to share that I create for a living, and you can too. But it really starts again with first understanding who you are, what you do, your vision, your values, your mission, and all of those things. So I want to share with you a little bit about my journey. But before we do this, I want you to visualize joy. I want you to go on a journey with me and visualize joy, okay? I want everybody to close their eyes. I'm looking at y'all. I'm just but I want you to close your eyes, and I want you to experience joy, like a fullness of joy, but not only joy for yourself, but joy for the world. I want you to close your eyes and consider a world where everyone gets to do more of what they want to do versus simply considering the things they think they have to do. Close your eyes and think about it. What would a world where everyone gets to do more of the things that bring them joy look like? What would it feel like? What would it taste like? What are some of the things that come to mind for you? And as you begin to close your eyes and envision this utopia of a world, I'd like for you guys to drop in the chat some of your responses. Like, what are some of the things that you see? What are for yourself as well as for the world? What are the images that come to mind? What is the feeling that comes to mind? Yeah, I want to know. Let me know. The things that you guys have put in the chat, that's the wave that I'm on, okay? Like, I love to see it. I love to see it. It's awesome. Oh my gosh, yeah. So y'all get what I'm saying, right? You understand. You completely understand why it is so important that we as women, as business owners, as caregivers, as people, prioritize our joy. So this vision of a world where everyone lives in joy is what influenced my personal mission. And my mission is really simple. It's to transform the world and future generations through radical joy. And I happen to do this by way of helping women find joy through purpose, by way of open conversations and holistic experiences. But I need you to understand that this mission started off with the vision of joy. And the vision of joy really came back to me understanding who I am and what it is that I want to contribute to the world and the way in which I want to do it. How many of you have your brand mission written somewhere? on a piece of paper, in your drive, in a notebook somewhere? Like, I have no idea. But I would love to hear from you guys what your company and your brand's mission is. And understand that if you don't necessarily have it completely ironed out as it relates to your business, you could have a personal life mission. What is that mission? If you have that, I'd love for you guys to drop it in the chat so we can check out what some of your missions are and how they align with the business and the work that you do. And as we do that, we're going to hop into this conversation around branding, because a lot of times I think that this is one of the biggest myths, that branding is about the aesthetic. And yes, the aesthetic is a part of the branding process, but it's about so much more than the pretty pictures, fonts, and colors, okay? Branding yourself, branding your business really starts with knowing yourself. And the moment you get clear on who you are, again, we're gonna keep coming back to this idea of knowing yourself and identity. But the moment you get clear on who you are, it can help influence your brand, okay? It can help influence the colors that you choose. It can help influence the fonts that you choose. It can help influence the type of content that you create and the aesthetic that you curate over time. But in order for any of that to be done, it really has to start with you knowing yourself. Because as you begin to build your personal brand, you can align your business to work with that. And you also begin to understand that your brand is the feeling you want people to walk away with. It's not something that is as simple as colors and pictures. It's really about the impression that you and your business leave on your audience, your consumer, your client, you know, the people that you're servicing and you're working with. So we're going to get into how this works in 5 steps. But as we do this, I want to share my journey to purpose and, again, how I came to this realization. And it started in 2005 2009 when I graduated from college, because adulting is hard. I don't know how many of y'all can relate, but they don't prepare you, man. They don't prepare you for adulting. In 2009, I graduated from the college and I entered real adulthood. But unlike what I expected, I was unable to find a job. I wasn't able to create consistent income. I felt lost and confused because I graduated during the recession. So basically, all of the things that I thought I would end up having or achieving in life because I followed the perfect system, none of those things happened for me. And I found myself in a state of depression. I was crying every day. I was super unhappy with where I was in the life that I was living. And then I, at one point, decided to quit the thing that I was doing and really just pursue a life of joy, joy first living, joy first mindset. That's really what I wanted to do. And that led to me creating not only my jewelry line or picking that back as a hobby, it also led to me having a 7-year career as an on-air host and living like my best life, doing all the things that I enjoy. The second part in the journey that led to this understanding of joy being necessary to brand myself was becoming a wife and a mom, because now, fast forward, 7 years after graduating, I had built this career that I loved. Like, I loved talking to people on the street. I loved creating content. I loved just using conversation as a way to entertain people, but educate them at the same time. And that started from building a personal brand. But then in 2016, I had an identity shift because I became a mom and a wife for the first time. And that led to me thinking that I had to sacrifice my goals, my dreams, my aspirations, my joy to care for my family. I don't know how many of you guys can relate. And so with that, the brand that I had built over 7 years, being a woman on the go, a person who lived in New York City, being a commuter that rode on a bike, and all of these things that really kind of made up my personal identity, but also my brand identity, because my brand was attached to my lifestyle, really took a hit. And I wasn't sure of where to go or how to transfer all of the brand equity that I built for the 7 years prior. So once I became a mom, my identity started to revolve around motherhood. And so my brand then began to reflect a lot of motherhood stuff. I started a blog called Adventures of a Live Rich Mommy. And from there, I began to share tips and tricks about motherhood and how to make it more efficient and effective. And in that period, outside of the blogging, which then became somewhat of my job, I hadn't really taken on a lot of outside creative projects. And I, at that point, realized that I needed to focus on my joy more than I needed to focus on work and my family. And so for 16 months, I just like did the good mom, good wife thing. And I released my first creative project just for myself in almost a year and a half. And that was called the Live Rich Mommy Wrap. And a week later, I found out that I was going to be pregnant again. So at that point, I really had to get clear about what it was that I wanted to do moving forward. And then at one point, I also watched my mother transition into retirement. And at that point, I also realized how important it was for us to know who we are, right? And the way in which we serve others. And even if we don't have a business, recognizing that your brand matters, recognizing that your identity matters, and recognizing that it's super important for you to know what your life's mission is. And when you're clear on all those things, how it can help you serve people through your life, your business, your career, it really doesn't matter. But you yourself, I hope you guys hear this. I hope this is landing for you guys, but you yourself, irrespective of your business, are a brand. So whether you're building your business, whether it doesn't exist yet, I need you to understand that you are a walking brand and what you put out matters. So this was the process that came to help me understand the importance of branding myself, because in each of these steps or each of these seasons of life where I didn't have anything concrete as far as a job lined up, the things that I did do as it relates to my personal brand helped set me up for the next level of my journey and future opportunities. So how did I go from a depressed, unpaid, broke college graduate to a joy strategist? What I did was I went on a journey to joy, and it led to me creating my first product as a joy strategist in my work, which is called the Joy Quest. And it was really a process of understanding, again, rediscovering my identity, igniting my passions, i.e. joy, the things that bring you joy, and reclaiming that joy unapologetically. And I'm going to tell you what I did to begin that process and how you can begin to do the same. As you journey to joy, you got to first rediscover joy. What does joy mean for you? What does it look like? Hint, hint. You kind of already started to do this when we had our visualization exercise earlier. But when you begin to rediscover joy, it makes it a lot easier to glow with the flow. And I believe that the moment you begin to follow what feels good, it sets you up for the journey to purpose. For me personally, that looked like a lot of things. As a multi-passionate creative, like I said, I create a lot of stuff. So it looked like getting back into jewelry design. It meant singing and writing, doing poetry and stories. Sometimes I would do nothing. Like sometimes doing nothing can bring joy. I would just sit down, people watch, and do street interviews. It also meant getting back to creating new projects and ideas that would kind of challenge and stretch my creativity. So I got into video production, show development, blogging. I even started a podcast and on-camera hosting, which is what led to this TV hosting workshop that I did with NBC Universal and the American Black Film Festival, as you guys see on the right. That was a week before I found out that I was pregnant and when I thought my life was over, but that's a story for another day. So as you guys are considering your journey to joy, what would rediscovering joy look like for you? I want you guys to take a quick second to just jot that down. If you got the opportunity, and you do have the opportunity because you're living, okay? As long as you have breath in your lungs and as long as we're here, you have the opportunity to create the life that you want. But what would glowing with the flow look like for you? Take a moment to think about it and write that joke down. as we begin to talk about how that correlates to your brand, because your brand is your vibe. And like I've mentioned a couple times over this presentation, branding yourself and marketing and creating your content should be fun, okay? F-U-N, fun, fun foremost, okay? In order to do this, you need to make sure that the process of branding yourself and creating your content is enjoyable, because when it's enjoyable, it makes it effortless. You also have to make sure that your brand is authentic to who you are and that it's organic to what you do. But again, it doesn't have to be hard, and I'm going to show you how. Are you guys ready? Because I think that the next slide is the one that's going to like dive in. Are you guys ready to dive in? If you're ready to dive in, give me a D for dive. I love calling out these random things. Let's see. I think I see some D's coming. Okay, I see some D's. Y'all ready? Here we go. So, branding yourself with joy and the Weave Joy method. Dun, 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 dun. Here we go, y'all. 5 steps, starting with step 1, why. In considering your brand, your business, your marketing strategy, and your content, what is the purpose? Okay, like, not to sound super philosophical, but like, I was about to say, what is the purpose of like, why do we exist? But really kind of like, why do you exist? And thinking about the business that you're building, what purpose does this content, what purpose does your brand serve, right? What purpose does your business serve? Okay, and I want you to think about this beyond popularity, because as you begin to get super clear on why you do the things that you do, and let me tell y'all, this conversation of why goes so far beyond creating your content. It really is a question of your life. Like, why do you as a person exist? What gifts have you been given to serve others? How are you utilizing them? As you're doing them, what about doing them feels good? As you begin to ask yourself these questions, you can get very clear and kind of landing upon the answers around who you're meant to serve through the things that you do, and more importantly, why you're meant to do it. Because if you've been building a business for some time, you probably know that it's hard. It can be hard, and it can have really hard moments. But if you're super clear on why you're doing the things that you're doing, it makes it a lot easier to push through those hard times. And also realign yourself with your vision, your mission, and your values, which can really help you in the long haul of sustaining your business, but also in aligning you with the people that you're meant to serve through your business, okay? So as you're thinking about your brand, I want you to think about, what is the lasting feeling? What is the lasting impression you want people to have of you, your business, and the work you do? All of that comes back to your why and being super clear about your why. So now that we've touched on point 1, I want you guys to leave in the chat, what is your why? Do you know what it is? And I guess in this case, we could make why synonymous with purpose, right? What is the purpose of your business? What is the purpose of your business? What is the purpose of your brand that you're building? What are you hoping to do with this? And I want you guys to drop those things in the chat. Drop them in the chat. Ooh, yes. Yes. Okay, we got some good stuff going on over here. You guys are so purpose-filled and purpose-led. It brings me a lot of joy to see these things. Okay. And as we begin to think about this, I also want you guys to recognize that it's not just about popularity. Yes, like gaining likes and follows. Because at one point, I know that was the wave as it related to content creation, branding, marketing. But what we're beginning to see is that there has been a shift in the trend. And social media trends, branding and marketing trends, that's a conversation for another day that I don't want to get sucked up in. But I want you guys to recognize in your business that you have the power to influence trends. Like, not just as it relates to the industry as a whole, but in your business. So don't give into the myths about popularity being what's needed in order for you to monetize your business, create success in your business, and build a business that you love. That's not the case. But when you're able to connect with the people that you're meant to, all of those things can happen, and with joy. All right, so I feel like I've talked about this enough. I don't want to like talk your ears off because I want to make sure that we have time for questions at the end. So I'm going to move on to the second part of the Weave Joy process, which is E, embrace, okay? I want y'all to embrace your past, okay? And that means the messy parts, the secret parts, the juicy parts, all the parts. But more than anything, embracing your past allows you to free yourself of the shame, the conversations about worth, the fears that may keep you from actually fully and wholly sharing your story. And I want you guys to know that there is gold in your poop, okay? There's absolutely gold in your poop, okay? Because people like to be a part of experiences that they can relate to. And I know that oftentimes it can be thought, especially if you're just starting out with your business or your brand, like, oh, I'm not an expert in this thing, so how could I possibly share all of my revelations about this? Like, I'm not an expert in this. And you don't have to be an expert in the thing per se, because you're an expert in your life experiences, and that counts for something. One of the parts in my story that helped me acknowledge this and understand the joy of embracing my past was when I transitioned into becoming a mom and being a content creator for 7 years. For so long, I had done everything by myself. And not to say that when I would present my content or my brand, it was super clean and super polished. But when I became a mom, I tried to live up to a lot of what I'd seen motherhood look like. Which is a joke, because motherhood looks nothing like what it's presented as on Pinterest. Okay, how many of y'all are moms who can relate? But at one point, I remember doing these branded shoots for my blog, because again, like blogging was the thing, and everyone had super pretty pictures of motherhood. And it was when I had Aria. At that point, she was 2, and Jace was a newborn. And I remember kind of like pushing him off to the side so that he was never in the pictures. But then I'd always have to keep an eye on him at the same time. And then I remember like fussing with Aria, who at that point was a toddler. And I'd always try to time things so that she wasn't interrupted in her nap time. But sometimes she was fussy because she was a baby, you know? And I just remember at one point just trying to like force everything into working out. And at that time, I was working with someone that was a friend, and I remember asking her, like, how does this picture look? But it looked so uncomfortable. I felt so uncomfortable. I felt like I was all over the place. I felt like I was tired. I felt overwhelmed. And then I felt guilty because I felt like I was forcing my kids to participate in this thing that was not working authentically at that time in that moment. And I remember she said to me, you look like a mom that has 2 kids. And I don't know why this landed so like hard for me, but I was like, I am a mom with 2 kids. And it kind of like created this light bulb moment where it's like, why am I doing this? Why am I doing this? And so at one point I started to show my motherhood journey as it actually was. And this is what it looked like at the time, as a creative, as a mother, as a wife, and as a stay-at-home mom at that. So it really took the mothering thing to another level. My kids were with me all the time. And on any given day, my life didn't look like Pinterest. It looked like this. So I remember sharing this post, and it was one of the most popular posts to date. Like, I got so much love and so many comments, and it's not just about the love, but the comments that allowed me to connect with the people that saw that post really created an engagement that allowed me to start building an actual community around motherhood and purpose. And so I'm sharing this because at one point, the messiness of motherhood was the part of my story that I was not embracing. It was the part that I was really trying to like keep brushed under the rug because I wanted people to think that I had my stuff together. And spoiler alert, none of us actually have our entire lives together. And so I want you guys to take a moment to think about the E in your life. Where are you not embracing your past? Where are you not embracing your past as it relates to your story and the work that you do and why you do it? Where are you not embracing your past? And I want you guys to take a moment right now to share how you can begin to embrace your past as you share your story and your brand. So what would the E in your story look like? And I want y'all to drop those things in the chat. Where are you hiding from some shame or some fear or whatever it is, the part of your story that you don't want to share because you think it's not picture perfect or whatever that is? Let us know in the chat, because trust me, the moment you begin to share those experiences, you will find your people. And branding yourself will get easier because then you get to find freedom in how you share that part of your life. All right, so, oh gosh, we're running up on time. So I want to make sure that I breeze through these next couple. We're now at part 3 in A, acknowledging your present and owning it. Because, and I kind of started to allude to this in the last slide, but comparison is the thief of joy, y'all. Like, legit. And as you begin to acknowledge your present and own it, that's really where you get to find joy in the process of branding yourself, because you're no longer beholden to your past, right? You can embrace your past, but that doesn't mean you have to stay there. You get to own your present, and as you own your present, you can begin to plan for the future. So as you begin to acknowledge your present, that's really where the idea of your branding colors, the aesthetic or the vibe that you're trying to create, the font, all of the things that really make you you and how you currently identify yourself can begin to come into play. For me personally, like at one point in my journey, I was like very rugged with it, but then, and I don't think that I really cared so much about like my womanhood, but having my children kind of made me embrace my womanhood and acknowledge, like, I am a woman, hear me roar. And so at one point I really began to feel super feminine, and I like started wearing like a lot of sensual, I don't want to say sensual jewelry, but I really started to like care about my appearance and the way I showed up more, like how I felt in my body, how I cared for my body. My branding became a little more refined, where before it was kind of like, do the best you can with what you got. And not saying that you shouldn't do that, but I also realized that at one point, my brand needed to be elevated. And so I sat down at this point and got really clear on who I was and how I wanted that to show up in the way I branded my business, which is kind of what you guys see now. Like I changed my font colors from like red and black and stuff that really resonated for me from high school. But then I realized in this point of my motherhood journey, my womanhood journey, I really wanted to feel light and fresh. And so it feels really weird saying this, but for the longest, it took a really long time for me to acknowledge that yellow was my favorite color. And it was because I felt like, man, but red has always been my favorite color. Red has always been, I felt like I was cheating on the color red. But at one point, it's like, I like the color yellow. So really understanding yourself, the season of life you're in, and how you want to convey those things in your content marketing, the writing, your images, your colors, your font, all of those things, that's where this can come into play. So as you begin to acknowledge your present and own it, what are some elements of yourself that you can bring into your present brand? And for some people, that may mean doing a rebrand. You know, and let me tell y'all, sometimes that can be really hard to do, but you can let go of the past and really focus on what it is that you want to create right now. And it doesn't have to happen all at once. Start with one feel-good thing at a time. Start putting that out there, seeing how it resonates with other people, but more importantly, seeing how it resonates with yourself. So let us know in the chat, what are you acknowledging about your present and how you want that to show up in your brand? It could be a color, it could be a font, it could be a part of your story that no longer resonates with you that you're willing to release. How are you acknowledging your present? How are you going to acknowledge your present and start owning it moving forward? As we go to, oh gosh, we're gonna have a quick journey exercise. And this is something that's gonna help you guys get clear on how you can begin to acknowledge your present. We're gonna have some fun. You guys ready? Okay, you're like, what are we doing? What are we doing? We're gonna take a quiz in understanding how your joy can serve your story. So I want to take a quick minute or two for you to take this Joy Gem quiz to understand how your unique strengths can serve your joy and your business in this season. As you guys begin to take this quiz, it shouldn't take more than 90 seconds. I'm gonna keep going, but you can visit the site ericalasan.com/quiz to do it. As you take this quiz, I want you guys to pop in the chat what your Joy Gem type is. And in the event that you're not able to complete taking this quiz right now, I hope you guys have already started. Okay, I think you guys have. If you're unable to finish it, don't worry. The quiz is shared so that you can have access to it throughout this summit experience in the lead section. So if you visit the site, it'll definitely pop up. But I can't wait to hear what your Joy Gem types are, how they resonate, and how you believe these revelations can serve you in acknowledging your present. All right, how many of you have taken the quiz? What are your results looking like? Are you surprised? I hope you're surprised, okay? I know the results are absolutely insane. It's a really fun quiz. I had a really good time making it. But again, I'd love to hear which part resonates with you guys and what was most surprising. But as we have more of these results filter in, I'm gonna move on to V, okay? Because we're almost at the end. This is the fourth step in branding yourself with joy. And it's really simple. It's to visualize your future so that you can begin to execute on it, okay? And when you are building your business, when you're building your life, it is so important to visualize where you want to go. You guys have already started to do this earlier in this presentation. Okay, you have an idea of what you'd probably like your joy-filled life to look like. You probably have an idea of what you want your joy-filled business to look like and what you want it to feel like. Now that you have an idea of what it looks like, you just have to begin to execute on it. But if you don't have the vision, it makes it very hard to get clear on how you can begin to execute it. And this is where the beauty of the journey comes into play, because you don't have to have all the answers in order to get started. You really just have to have faith, okay? You really just have to have faith, and you have to be willing to show up one feel-good thing at a time. As you begin to get clear on what your vision is, and as you begin to strategically execute some of those steps, you'll find that you'll gain clarity along the way so that you can fine-tune, refine, hone in on your brand, your mission, your vision, your values, all of those things, one feel-good thing at a time. And it makes the process of building your brand so much more effortless and so much more fun, which is really important, especially in the long game of building a business and a brand. So really quickly, well, you guys kind of acknowledged what your vision is, but what would a joy-filled business, as you visualize your business, what would your joy-filled business look like? What is one thing in your joy-filled vision of your business that you would like to begin to execute on? And how do you plan on executing it? This could be something that you guys keep to yourself, or if you're feeling with it and you really want to, you can pop that in the chat. As we head on to the last part of the journey, which is P. Everyone, recognize that you ain't for everybody, okay? And that is absolutely okay. While there are a lot of things that your business may do, there are a lot of parts of your brand that may resonate with a lot of people. Not everybody is your ideal client, your ideal consumer, like a person that you'd actually want to spend time with or work with, all of those things. So the moment you get clear on the fact that you're not for everyone, you can get super clear on who you are for and how your brand identity, how your content, how your marketing, how you as a person are meant to serve them. And this takes a lot of pressure off of the part of building your brand that I think keeps a lot of content creators and entrepreneurs stuck, because it can be very easy to want to serve everyone. But as you begin to serve everyone, you really begin to realize that you're probably not serving anyone because it creates confusion. So out of the 7 billion people on the planet, all you got to do is find your little corner of the internet and understand how you serve them well. And as you begin to do that and get clear on what that looks like and what parts of your business, your brand, people resonate with most, you can begin to showcase more of those elements in your content and the way in which you deliver your brand. So for me personally, people like the fact that I was a mom on the go that also still had her own life. So I began to showcase more of me living my life as a mom on the go. At one point that included roller skating and my physical fitness. I am someone who loves tiny homes and I love the idea of life on wheels. So I want to create a school bus, house on wheels. That's called a schoolie. That's why you see that here. I'm also someone that commuted into the city every day for work. And I just loved exploring life on wheels and in New York City. So that's where that other picture is. Like living your life in a way that feels authentic to you and showcasing those elements of your story is really how you begin to build your brand. But again, it starts with embracing who you are, acknowledging who you are, and not trying to show up as someone or something that you're not. Because your brand is, again, not pretty pictures, colors, and fonts, but it's the impression and the feeling that people have when they engage with you and the work that you do. All right, so I'm going to do a really quick joy study to showcase what happens and what becomes possible when you're willing to go where the joy leads. I'm going to share a quick story of Daylene, who came to me because she was a freelance makeup artist working in television, but she also had a corporate background in finance, and she had 2 businesses, and she was trying to figure out how to make them both work. She came to me for content development and marketing ideas and understanding how she could share her story, and together we came up with digital products, programs, and trainings to help her understand how she could align all of these elements of herself, being a creative and a makeup artist, being a finance person, and being really good with numbers, and understanding how she could really align all of them so that she wasn't excluding any part of herself. And that's how Finance and Foundation and Lipsticks and Dreams not were born, but how she was able to understand how she could serve in both of those things without overwhelming herself. She left some really awesome words about the work that we did together. You can check out her story and other journey stories on my site, ericalasan.com/testimonials. But I want to make sure that we do a quick review, okay? Because we said a lot in this very short amount of time, and I want to make sure that these key points land. All right, first the don'ts, okay? Because we just want to make sure that you nip these things in the bud immediately, okay? Don't try to be like everybody else, because there's only one of you, and the way in which you see things and do things in the world matters, okay? And while somebody else may do something similar to the thing that you do, they could never do it like you. So once you get very clear on how you're different, like double down on that, and you'll be able to find how you can create your brand and your business with a lot more joy and authenticity, but also you'll be able to attract the people that are really meant to work with you. Don't think that things have to be perfect in order to be done, because if that happens, you won't get very far. It'll keep you stuck, all right? Progress over perfection is the name of the game. Don't get bogged down and stuck thinking about all the things that you don't have in order to create the brand or business that you want, okay? One feel-good thing at a time. And if you begin to look at the obstacles as a way to be more creative, you may find that you'll get a lot further faster, and you'll come up with a lot more ideas that can help you distinguish your value and your differences in the market that you're in. Don't create content strictly aimed at the goal of making money, because that doesn't necessarily help your brand, and it doesn't help people get to know you better. As you begin to share parts of your story in your life, you'll be able to understand how you can create content that can also be monetized, but in a way that feels really aligned and can help you build community around what it is that you do. And let's hit on the do's really quick. Do lean into your story. I feel like I've spoken about that enough. Do what feels good, because it creates sustainable success and results. Do use your gifts, because it'll make it so much easier to create and curate your content. And do start today, because today is all you got. Just keeping it real, okay? Be the best you can with what you already have. But we're just getting started, okay? I want you guys, like I've enjoyed this time so much. I want you guys to take your life and your business journey further, one feel-good thing at a time. I know that in this presentation, I've talked about a bunch of things and I went really, really fast, but I created a whole book called the Journey Daily Planner. It's available on Amazon, and it really breaks down the process of starting with a vision, a huge vision, creating your mission, getting clear on what your mission is, understanding how it contributes to your brand, your content marketing strategy, breaking it down to literally months, breaking it down month by month, and then understanding how that can impact your revenue streams and how you bring money in. But understanding that it doesn't have to feel hard, overwhelming, or like a drain, because you should have fun in the process. So that planner helps you understand how you can begin to do that with joy, one feel-good thing at a time. And before we go, I want to leave you guys with some assignments, okay? First things first, partner up, grab an accountability buddy, somebody in this group. I don't know if there's somebody that's been in the chat that you really, really, really enjoy talking to, or reading their stories. Maybe y'all have been chatting in the chats. I don't know. I haven't been able to check as much because I'm focusing on sharing this material, but grab an accountability buddy. If you haven't yet, or if you weren't able to complete the quiz, take the Joy Gem Superpower Quiz. It will help bring so much clarity to some of the things that you may currently be experiencing in this current season of your journey. And it can help you better understand your strengths, your gifts, and how to use them to serve the work you do. Then I want you guys to get social and play with us, okay? Follow us on Instagram and LinkedIn and share your quiz results, because I still want to know. I want to know which Joy Gem type you got and if it resonated. Outside of that, I want you guys to take each part of the Weave Joy method that we've highlighted here and really think about them now that you're having, you know what they all are, and you may have a moment to go back and watch this again later on. Think of how each part of the method can be integrated into your branding, your content, and your marketing strategy moving forward. And then lastly, just spread the love and share the journey with a friend who could use more joy in their life and the way that they're building their business, because it helps create accountability, and it also creates cheerleaders, and it creates a lot of joy in supporting you, like getting support as you build your business, but also in a way where you get to support others as well. All right, I'm like so excited. I'm having so much fun. But yeah, I want you guys to start your journey to get today, one feel-good thing at a time. As a special thank you for listening to me rant and ramble and rave around joy, I would like to invite you guys to our next Joy Bootcamp. You can find that at ericalassonde.com/joy-bootcamp. I hope you choose to journey with us. I look forward to seeing you guys then. And in this session, we can dive a little bit deeper into your branding and your content questions, your business questions, your life questions around how you can facilitate more joy in your life, career, and relationships. One feel-good thing at a time. All right, we made it. Thank you again. I'd love to hear any key takeaways that you guys have from this experience. Drop them in the chat. Now is also the time for you to bring forward your questions as we journey further together, one feel-good thing at a time. And if you'd like to stay connected, feel free to shoot me an email at info@ericalassonde.com or follow me on social media at Erica Lasson. I am so grateful for you guys being here. And I wish you much joy, success, love, blessings, peace, clarity, alignment, all the good things in your journey as you move forward. Thank you.
Erica, that was so good. Y'all are funny in the chat. People were, did you see this?
I did. I loved it.
Man, they are cutting up. All right, y'all. So we have 5 minutes with Erica. So many questions. So many. Dana, I see you. So many hands raised. So let me just pivot it first to the hands, okay, and then we'll get to the question box and we'll vacillate back and forth. Alexis, the mic is yours.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, perfect. I promise I won't take up too much of your time. But first of all, if you are not already targeting social media managers, content managers, marketing automation managers, you absolutely should, because this is so valuable. And this is a lot of the hurdle that we have to overcome with our clients, because they want to tell the sales story or the thing that they're selling. They want to talk about the product's story, but they don't want to share their own story. And what comes to mind is my client, Brittany, and I told her already about you. So you might, I already done the reference. And I told her I was going to tell her story. But one thing about Brittany, she just made the transition from California to Arizona. She's a realtor. She had to leave her business behind in California and rebuild it in Arizona. She's also a real estate agent. Her husband's a doctor. She's a mom. They just bought a house. All of that valuable information, all of that, she can build her content story or her content pillars, her brand story around. And it's as if she refuses to do it because what does she have? A broker in her ear telling her, well, no, you need to do house tours and you need to do this to show the real estate side of you. Mm. And so the battle, the back and forth that she and I have is trying to find a balance between showing that she, is a professional real estate agent and she knows what to do versus all of this wealth of content that she has in just telling her story. Mm. So this is amazing. And I gave her your IG and your website. So hopefully she'll be reaching out to you. But I told her, look, we got to do something because we have to elevate. We have to connect with these people on a deeper level.
Thank you so much, Alexis. And I hope that she does reach out because honestly, your telling of your story and sharing of your life, and it's not that you have to share all your business, but that is usually what allows people to buy into you as a brand. Like what differentiates you from every other like real estate agent or whatever the case is, it's people's ability to connect with you and relate to you. So thank you for sharing that and for the kind words and love. I really appreciate it. It's all fun.
Thank you.
Thanks, Alexis. Thank you. Beautiful, beautiful. You have so many questions, Erica. I'm trying not to talk to you because I get long-winded, but I'm gonna just say, you're so beautiful, sis. Like every time I see you, whether it's the picture or live, it looks exactly the same. Just popping.
Thank you.
You're welcome, my love. Okay, so this one is from Andrea, and she asks, how does one even begin to know / find their purpose / life mission?
Oh my gosh, this is such a good question. And I know it's a really deep and heavy one, but it doesn't actually have to feel heavy. When a lot of people pursue this question of like, what is my purpose? They think, well, I have to find it. But the way I consider it and the way I look at it, you don't have to find what has never been lost. Purpose is what you're born with, okay? You were born with purpose. The purpose is still there. You just got to get rid of the muck and the mire and all of the other stuff that's been put on you that has led you to forget what your purpose is. And joy is a really wonderful way of helping you re-engage and reconnect with what that purpose is. I have a 3-step process and framework that allows people to go through this understanding of rediscovering, reconnecting, and recommitting to your purpose and identity through joy. But in order to jumpstart that, you have to be willing to rest and stop doing stuff. Stop doing stuff. The stuff does not help if you are not clear on where you're going. And that's where the vision comes into play. But in order to get there, you really first have to be willing to do something different. And a lot of times that something different is as simple as doing nothing. Give yourself the grace of stillness. Give yourself the joy of stillness so that you can begin the process of allowing yourself to do the work that's required for you to move forward in your purpose, but also recognizing that nothing is wrong with you. No part of your experience is ever a waste. It all contributes to you being able to live out your life's purpose and your mission. But first and foremost, be still and reconnect with your joy.
Yeah, you preaching, teaching. All right, y'all can be mad at me, but we got a DJ set, so we have to go. I'm gonna show one more question on the screen. Erica, I don't know. You got so many questions, sis. I don't even know, but I'm gonna show the next one. China. She asks, "What was the key turning point for you when you decided to embrace your past?" Oh, come on, sis.
Okay, this is a really good question. Yeah, Casey, I love this. All right. Like we're going to have to figure out something else because I want to talk to all of y'all and answer all your questions. Sorry. But the key turning point for me was motherhood. Because the beautiful piece of motherhood is summer break. Y'all see me looking over to the side. That's because I have my daughter with me. All right, Aria, come say hi because I know that's what you want to do. Real quick, say, give a wave. Okay, bye. But motherhood was the key turning point for me because at that point, it's either you can continue to do the things that you've been conditioned to do that don't serve you and leave you feeling stuck, constantly overwhelmed, feeling frustrated with where you are and feeling like you can't move forward, or you can just decide to stop and do something different. And motherhood really does give you the opportunity to, for me at least, it gave me the permission to do something different because the way I was working wasn't serving me. And in thinking ahead, I had this consideration of, well, how do I want to be remembered as a mom? You know, like, do I want to be angry and frustrated? Do I want to be like, my kids like she was always yelling at us because she was so tired? You know, different things like that. And so in the moment after doing the good mom, good wife thing for 16 months, and like, it got to the point where I was like crying in silence by myself because of the overwhelm and the pressure that I felt, but I felt guilty verbalizing it. When I decided I'm not doing this anymore, and I really began to open up about how I felt in the moment and what I really wanted. And I know it sounded selfish to a lot of people, including my parents, but I had to commit to my version of joy. And they didn't get it. But as I began to do the stuff, it became something where it's like, low key, I know they wanted it too, you know? Of course. The joy of the journey. You get to break generational curses. You get to plant seeds of blessing that not only empower and benefit you, but they set future generations up for joy and well-being as well.
Ashe. Well, we have a great recommendation from Auntie Yvonne. She asked if you can grab a table in the lounge. So, Erica, there's a lounge in here. Once you leave this session, there's a lounge at the top of your screen if you're on laptop. Are you on laptop or phone or mobile?
I am on a desktop today.
Okay, so once you leave here, if not, listen, I'm talking like you're going to say yes. She might say no, y'all. But in the lounge, there are these tables, and table 1, for instance, is the top one. If you sit there in the chair, other people can go sit there in the chair with you and continue to dialogue. If you're free, if you're not, completely understand, and we thank you for pouring into us in this session. It was fire.
Thank you. It's my absolute joy.
You are welcome, Mamacita. All right, well, I love you, girl. You know, we're gonna stay in touch. Keep doing what you're doing because you fire. Y'all, somebody asked, where do you get these speakers from, Casey? So Erica and I met in community. We were in a group called iFund Women of Color. And what she's saying about like build communities, like actual communities versus like these, I mean, I get it. We want to sell, I get it, right? But anyway, we met in community that was created and it was real connection there. And so the ROI that both of us continue to get from that group far exceeds the initial time we put in that application, right? So yeah, do with that what you will. I love you so much, Erica. Appreciate you
too, girl. Thank you so much.
Thank you. All right, y'all. So look, I don't know if Erica's gonna meet y'all at the table or not, but just go see the DJ set is starting. DJ Red Corvette is gonna be on the 1s and 2s. Okay, she's gonna be on the 1s and 2s for 1 hour, and then we're going straight into. And I will personally say, some people are doing Blaze After Dark tonight. Y'all just tell people what time in the feed. I will personally say that I want to see y'all in the panel discussion that comes right after DJ Red Corvette. It is called The Art of Releasing Control, Managing Teams. I need you today to start planning for how you become as a manager. I know this is not common. Most of us do not know managers in entrepreneurship. We just don't. Okay. So yeah, let's do it because success is strategic, not accidental. Oof. It's strategic, not accidental. See y'all in the next session. Love y'all. Amazing session. Thank you for your engagement.